Alright, live on YouTube. And mute, good. Live on Twitch. I do need to have an intro video or something, because then I would be able to test my audio output without any echo. Alright, that's muted too. Good. Let's see. Find mine. There we go. Queued up. Make sure that I'm muted in SciTube as well. I'm not. There we go. I am now. Awesome. Alright, cool. I didn't announce this ahead of time, so nobody's going to be in yet. Except anybody who gets the notification for Twitch. I'll go ahead and post in the news thread. See if anybody pops on tonight. I'm going to have to do shorter streams. Mondays was 4 hours. That's too much right now. I think I'll cut this down to 2.5 at most. Alright, let's see what we got. I can go ahead and preview the stories before anybody pops in. That way, maybe it'll be a little bit smoother. We can just get going once everybody's here. But anybody viewing after the fact on the bot on Twitch or on YouTube will get to see this part. Alright, let's see. Exit polls give edge to TMC in Bengal. Big win for DMK in... don't know. Tamil Nadu is TN, I guess. LDF in Kerala. Alright, so there we got some news on Indian elections. So that's... We've been following India for a bit, so that's worth looking at, I think. And what's next? CPP denounced recent wave of coordinated AFP and PNP attacks in Bicol region. That's Communist Party of the Philippines today denounced successive extrajudicial killings and illegal arrests by police and military officers in Bicol provinces from April 25th to 26th. 5 civilians were brutally killed while 2 were arrested on trumped-up charges. Oh, you can pull that up and see how it looks. We were looking at the Philippines the other day, I think. Corbyn joins socialists and communists in condemning neo-Nazi march honoring SS war criminals in Ukraine. Marchers dressed in black trooped from the Arsenalna underground station to Independence Square with banners honoring the Waffen-SS division, which was mainly made up of far-right Ukrainian volunteers that participated in massacres of Polish civilians, including women and children, in Palikorovy and Pidkamen. So, might be, I don't know, I can always read stuff more quickly if it's long, if it's not too relevant or interesting. Angry Renault workers take bosses hostage for 12 hours in bid to block factory sale. Well, that sounds very interesting. Definitely gonna, in fact, I'll bring that to the front. Government campaign to force Assange out from Ecuadorian embassy. The British government campaigned and spent more than £20,000 to force WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange from the Ecuadorian embassy in London. A declassified UK investigation has revealed. Declassified UK analyzed Foreign Office documents as well as the recently published diaries of former Foreign Office Minister Alan Duncan, who was a key player in negotiations around Mr. Assange. That might be short enough. Let's see. Switch this really quick. Better numbers. Let's see. Israel's Iron Dome causing cancer among soldiers, report claims. Some soldiers have already filed lawsuits against Israel's Ministry of Defense. The Israeli army has denied any connection between their service at the Iron Dome and contracting cancer. Which, like, just want to point out about this. In Israel, it is compulsory to serve with the Israel Defense Force. I forget how many years it is, what the term of service is, but everybody has to serve in the Israel Defense Force. So this is like, I mean, not everybody's going to be deployed to this one place, but it's not like people signed up for it. That's another case of just throwing bodies in the meat grinder. All right. Bolivian activists urge EU not to support coup leaders. Bolivian activists urge the European Union not to support the right-wing forces of the country. This as representatives within the European Parliament and from the Spanish party Vox try to plot actions over alleged human rights violations during the elected government of Luis Arce. So, the coup government does human rights abuses and kills people. The European Parliament sleeps. But then the elected government starts prosecuting the people who did the coup. That's when it's real shit. Okay. That's also going to be brought forward. Bolivia story is very interesting overall, so we've been covering that. Bolsonaro blamed for acting against the life of Brazilians. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has taken, again, some actions against Brazilians' life and health by discarding the necessary information required to import Sputnik V vaccine. Or is it, maybe it's Sputnik V, I don't know. Probably Sputnik V. Congressman and former health minister Alexandre Padilla complained. Well, that's also Brazil and coronavirus is getting moved up. Colombia's national strike continues amid public outrage. Citizen outrage increased in the afternoon and evening of Wednesday after citizens posted on social networks a video in which a police officer is seen getting off his motorcycle and shooting a young man in Cali. He died a few minutes later, lying on the sidewalk, as recorded by the independent outlet Question Publica. Alright, well that's getting moved way up. I mean, national scale strike and outrage over police violence, that's going way up there. Mass cremations as India faces a tsunami of COVID-19 deaths. Jeet has pledged to care for all the dead as if they were his own family, performing traditional, if abbreviated, funeral rites at a makeshift crematorium in India's capital. Sometimes the devastation overwhelms him. This happened on, on a recent morning when he wept alongside a woman as she stood next to the funeral pyre of her husband and their young son. Alright, that's getting... Come on. Get that moved up with Brazil on the coronavirus coverage. Telesur. Yeah, Telesur is Venezuela. My audio's out? What the fuck? My audio's out. I'm seeing that I'm producing audio. Hold on, let me unmute myself real quick. Let me unmute myself real quick. No, I'm definitely getting my audio. It might be your end. But thanks for the heads up, Leo. Yeah, I tested my audio on Twitch just now. Let me check YouTube. Might be your end. Nope, YouTube works too. Huh. Yeah, that's... I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, I was getting from the SciTube chat. Somebody thought that my audio was mixed up. All right, so that's the first post. I'll go ahead and keep reading into the second post unless somebody has suggestions for a story that they want to link me or point me toward. But I think I've had some pretty good meat there. But we don't have a whole lot of viewers in yet. Sometimes it takes a little while, so... Actually, let me post... Just news. Any kind of news is good. I generally try to cover stuff that's related to, like, world news, politics around the world. Anything that's, like, significant stuff. I don't pay attention to stuff like, you know, celebrity gossip and that sort of thing, but... Let's see, where's the leftypol chat? There we go. There we go. Put the streaming link in the leftypol chat. You'll see it. Oh, I'm glad it's working now, Leo. Sometimes it's what do you call it? It can be wonky with embedding stuff in the SciTube, so. All right, where was I? Did I get into any of these? No, I didn't start reading any of these yet. So since we don't have a lot of people in here, I'm just going to keep going through the posts and finding more stories and sort them up in my tabs to see if anything is standing out. We got some retired military staff who talk about putsch where I live. Several politics leaders denounced that. If you have a link, you can post. I'm pretty sure links will be allowed in the Twitch chat now. But yeah, you want to post a link to the story, if you got one, that would be cool. And I can pull that up. I always prioritize stuff that people link me from the chats because that's people directly telling me what they want to hear. But otherwise, I just go through News Anon's post and see whichever looks the most interesting. But I'm very open to influence from the chat if people want to listen to a particular story or discuss it. Hey, Posadas de la Mouse, how's it going? And I'll remind people that I've got all three chats open, Twitch, YouTube, and the SciTube. So any of those three, I'll see. And I can link stuff. Actually, right now, I even have the Matrix chat open for leftypol. So if anybody posts something there, I'll see it. But yeah, let's see. What's next on this post from News Anon? The U.S. may still be helping Saudi Arabia in the Yemen war after all. Not that big a surprise. Multiple U.S. defense officials and experts acknowledge that through a U.S. government process, the Saudi government pays commercial contractors to maintain and service their aircraft, and those contractors keep Saudi warplanes in the air. What the Saudis do with those fighter jets, however, is up to them. The article. Interesting. How is this? Okay, it just directly opens it up over here. That works. Let me drag this. Come on. Drag this to the front. Spectres haunting France, the specter of a coup d'etat. Oh yeah, I think I was hearing the rumblings. Yeah. I remember there was like talk about this. Was the last time I was doing the news, I think. There was some implications about the military in France. Yeah. Let's see. Oh no, come on. Don't give me any of this extra crap. I need to figure out how to install a script blocker in this browser. Yeah. Coup d'etat has come home with a vengeance. When a few weeks ago a plot was allegedly uncovered to overthrow the King of Jordan, one of these leading articles was devoted to a brief history of coups. The point was to show how real or imagined conspiracies have been used to crush opposition. In Turkey, for example, and the danger of loose talk about coups in mature democracies such as Israel or the United States. It never occurred to me that the military might be contemplating a takeover in France, the country that gave us the term coup d'etat, yet such appears to be the case. All right, this is from the article by Daniel Johnson. So yeah, I'm starting to get more people, but I think I'll save this for when we get some more people in here, but that does look interesting and foreboding. But I'll go ahead and get through the rest of this post to find articles before I... Ooh, what's this? I'm using the Vivaldi browser right now, so that's Chromium based, I think. I do have a script blocker in Firefox, but I'm not using Firefox at the moment because it has like a memory leak problem or something. Or something on my version does. And it just like crashes all the time. Let's see. It's quite disturbing with the right wing gaining importance around here. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like Macron failed to do like much of anything to resolve problems in France. People are looking for solutions where they go next, right? Oh, I do have the paywall bypasser installed on... I think I have it actually on this browser too, just not this profile. But yeah, let's see. I'll look into installing fucking extensions later on. Yeah, exactly. That's what happens with centrist, isn't it? All right, where are we at? U.S. agency in charge of nukes approves multi-billion-dollar project as Washington urges Iran to curtail its own nuclear program. The U.S. has approved a multi-billion-dollar project to beef up its plutonium production. At the same time, Washington is calling on Iran to reduce an international agreement or to return to an international agreement designed to prevent Tehran from developing nuclear bombs. The National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA, the federal agency responsible for nuclear research and weapons manufacturing in the U.S., has approved the first design phase for the new project. So, I think I gotta add that one. Oh, for some reason though, it's sticking everything in the front now. Wealthy would dodge 90% of Biden's capital gain tax increase, study says. Well, I mean, what else is new? Wealthy Americans will avoid paying 90% of the estimated $1 trillion increase in investment taxes that President Joe Biden is proposing this week, according to a new study from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton Business School. I mean, that's not... yeah. I don't think I need to go into that. The union's evidence in Amazon's vote could be grounds for overturning election, U.S. Labor Board says. All right, well, that's going right up to the top, along with these other stories about labor actions. Put it third. Evidence submitted by a retail union that raised objections to Amazon.com's .com Inc.'s. So is that how they say it? Amazon.com Inc. That's really awkward. Conduct at this month's union election in Alabama could be grounds for overturning the vote, the National Labor Relations Board said on Wednesday. Americans under 30 have rapidly turned against gun control laws, poll finds. Oh. Now that's fucking interesting. Americans under 30 have rapidly turned against gun control laws. Jeff, or do we say Overlord Bezos? Yeah, he's no longer the CEO of Amazon, but he's on the board of directors, I think. He's still there. They just handed off, like, the keys to somebody else. People between the ages of 18 to 29 saw the sharpest decline in backing for new weapons laws, with fewer than half now saying new legislation is needed to reduce the risk of future mass shootings or to block red flag buyers. In April 2018, the last time the ABC Washington Post survey was conducted on this issue, 65% of these young Americans say they support gun control laws. The percentage now is 45%. So that's a 20-point drop. That is really... Oh, wait. I think I already opened it. That is really big. That's going up near the top, too. Because, you know, political power grows from the barrel of a gun. Wow. U.S. indicts 3 on hate crime charges in death of Ahmed Arbery. Travis McMichael and his father, Gregory, were charged along with a third man, William Reddy Bryan, with 1 count of interference with civil rights and attempted kidnapping. The McMichaels are also charged with using, carrying, and brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence. Man, that's just... I guess it's another look into how nasty things are in the U.S. right now. I don't know if we need to go into that unless there's something super notable about that story. Policy disaster waiting to happen. Civil rights groups caution White House amid reports of racially motivated menthol cigarette ban plan. In a letter sent this week to Health Secretary Xavier Becerra, Food and Drug Administration head Janet Woodcock, and other officials at the ACLU, along with 26 other organizations, including a number of drug legalization groups, said the well-intentioned move had the potential to create large underground illegal markets. Well, as they do. This would be a massive law enforcement problem. Is the USA still a beacon of anything nowadays? Police violence, the drug industry, weapons manufacturing. It's about it, I think. It's too obvious that they want to disarm the same people who are getting shot by cops and not the fascists. Yes, right. Like, if you want to talk about disarming people, start with the police. Like, that's the most obvious group to target. Police violence, drugs, and weapon manufacturing. Yep. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's exclusive to the U.S., but the U.S. is famous for those things right now. Beacon of imperialism. There you go. That's something that the U.S. is unparalleled at. All right, so I'll open that as like a wild card in case maybe I want to cover it. All right, I'll start scrolling through these stories now. The U.S. just sucks over the past decade. Oh, I don't know, maybe a bit longer than that. Maybe a bit longer. Trying to... Obama really did run the country. I don't know, maybe. I think he is another progressive step in making it worse. But you could maybe put the point where it was like past the point of no return in Obama's administration. We all thought they were just mad because he was half black. I mean, there were people who were really mad about that, but there were also people who were mad because things were terrible. Like, I mean, the crash in 2008, come on. But yeah, it's, people like to pin it on like a single thing, like racism, so they can problematize the people making an issue of things. And they can justify and do apologetics for the system that we've got. U.S. even sucks at things that it's supposed to be good at. Yeah, like war. Yeah, and coups, thanks to the degeneration of the empire. Bolivia is no longer under the coup government. So there you go. And the Venezuelan one, the Bay of Piglets, was a non-starter. All right, let's get into the stories now. Let's see, we got from the article, Spectres haunting France, a specter of a coup d'etat. We got good old President Macron. So do we... Gilets jaunes, losing eyes and hands to police actions. Drug dealers controlling entire blocks. The Salt Inc. selling weapons to Saudis and others. I know, it's not a competition. I mean, yeah, France is way up there. But like, I don't know. Macron, it's a pretty good, funny appellation for Emmanuel Macron. All right. Yeah, the U.S. isn't like number one top at all the stuff anymore, but it is famous for a lot of those things because it's so big and it dominates the media presence. The coup d'etat has come home with a vengeance. When a few weeks ago a plot was allegedly uncovered to overthrow the King of Jordan, one of these leading articles was devoted to a brief history of coups. The point was to show how real or imagined conspiracies have been used to crush opposition. In Turkey, for example, and the danger of loose talk about coups in mature democracies such as Israel or the United States. It never occurred to me that the military might be contemplating a takeover in France, the country that gave us the term coup d'etat. Yet such appears to be the case. In an open letter, 20 retired French generals have warned of an impending civil war with political Islam, resulting in intervention by our comrades on active service. The letter appeared in Valeurs Actuelles, a right-wing magazine, and is also signed by another 80 retired officials from the armed forces and the gendarmerie. That's, could tell by the way that the word is spelled, that's something to do with, like, type of, like, general army or something? I'm not entirely sure. Not great with etymology. Claiming widespread support in the military, they call for the elected government of Emmanuel Macron to be replaced by politicians who take into account the safety of the nation. Oh, National Guard, thank you. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, they really do think that, like, the immigrants or really, like, refugees are going to start a civil war. It's this, like, Fortress Europe type mentality. And, I mean, who can be surprised that you see that shit among the upper ranks of the military in a Western country? That's pretty typical. Oh, that's why. I thought something was fucked up with this. Hold on, let me adjust. The color balance was all fucked up. Yeah, there we go. I knew something was weird looking here. Shoot. I've got to adjust all that. There we go. Oh man, I lost where people were talking in the chat. Now I gotta find the spot. Shadow banned on Twitch? That sucks. Yeah, Twitch is weird with bans. Great replacement theory. Yeah, that's the big thing that all the far right people are on now. They're calling it like white genocide and shit. That like, oh, our culture is no longer a monolith, as if it was before. I got all these people coming in. Yeah, it sounds like an invisible enemy in our midst. Bullshit. Yep. French rightoids are such pussies they can't even bring themselves to say Macron is shit and should be guillotined. Yeah, you would think that if they're going to be edgy about civil war and stuff, they could at least like invoke some actually, radical French history. It's not just this dumb shit about, I'm the top sniper in the entire armed forces, and I'm gonna have my buddies come help me turn you into a smear on the pavement, like doing the fucking Navy SEAL copy pasta version of French politics. Guess they're trying to bottle that Trump narrative and repurpose it. Oh yeah, it is kind of like the Trump thing, the QAnon type of thing. That they're talking about, like, oh yeah, totally guys, shit's about to go down, we've got the plan, just don't worry about it, everything's gonna get sorted out. Le Pen was aping Trump 2016, now she apes Trump 2020. Well, maybe she'll ape Trump 2020 and fucking lose. How about that? Alright. One politician has wasted no time in answering the call of the generals. Marine Le Pen, leader of the National Rally and Macron's main rival in next year's presidential election, invites these and other discontented officers to join her campaign. Of course. Jeez. While she stops short of endorsing a coup, Ms. Le Pen evidently shares their view that France is on the brink of disintegration. As Macron supporters were swift to point out, her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, began his long political career when a cabal of generals tried to mount a coup against General de Gaulle in 1961 to prevent the then president from abandoning the colonial Algeria. Though their attempt failed, the cause of Lingerie Francaise lived on in the shape of Le Pen's National Front, founded a decade later in 1972. 60 years to the day after the putsch by the generals against General de Gaulle, the mask is slipping, commented Agnes Pannier-Runacher, the industry's minister. Marine Le Pen is a far right, and it's the same story as 60 years ago. Yeah. Maybe some right-wing nuts who talked about the nostalgia of Napoleon Bonaparte. Like he didn't kill enough people around Europe and inside his own army. Yeah, like, talk about Napoleon. How many French people died because of his dumb wars? It's like, hey, we have reserves. We will keep building up a new army for every war we need to fight. The French women will keep making French babies, and the French babies will grow into French adults who can then go fight for us, or make more babies. Yeah, just like totally insane. It's weird how much you get, what do you call it, like nationalist types who venerate people who just like cause mass death for their own citizens. Yeah. She ain't winning shit. Yeah, hopefully not. Sup, butthole? Good to see you. Same narrative as the poor fools who think they're getting anything out of the right. You know, if by some freak chance she does win, I'm gonna laugh. I mean, you have to laugh, not to cry. When they're right, I just wondered where their pensions went. Yeah. I mean, hasn't that been going on with in the U.S. too? All the boomers are gonna start losing pensions. The ones that still have them. Le Pen could win next year. I mean, I don't doubt it. Trump literally signaled that he was going to destroy Social Security if reelected. Yeah, true. Trump fucked shit up during those 2 years. He could pass. Yeah, Trump was. I mean, he was bad, but I feel like people tend to like overstate it because of he's a bad look, right? But I mean, defunding Social Security and the social safety net has been going on since Reagan, at least, or at least overtly since then. Apparently, the narrative people think you can have programs without collecting the tax fund. Yeah, we're gonna fund all these programs with bootstrap logic, is what it is. They think that the bootstraps is how everything works, including public programs. All right. Oh yeah, that's right. Got rid of payroll tax. April 28th, 2021, Kiev, march in honor of the Waffen SS. Oh yeah, there's a story. We have a story about people talking about this. So actually, let me really quick, I'll stick this in next. And then let me see if I find the story that I pulled up. Yeah, here it is. And I'll sort this right after it because it's related. All right, cool. Thank you for the link. Oh yeah, nobody cares if the president or whoever is doing something illegal. Nobody cares about that shit anymore. I mean, that really probably evaporated around the time the authorization of force that was used for these wars on terror just started being used for perpetual war in the Middle East. I think that's where that really kind of died forever. People caring about whether an executive order is legal or not. However, today's generals may have another leader in mind, one of their own. 4 years ago, the newly elected President Macron forced General Pierre de Vigier to resign after the then chief on the defense staff protested publicly over budget cuts. Since then, the general has published a thinly veiled political manifesto in book form. L'équilibre est un courage. Roughly, fairness takes courage, calling for a restoration of French sovereignty vis-a-vis the European Union and a return to patriotism in politics. His brother Philippe de Villiers is a nationalist politician and former presidential candidate, but has never been able to extend his appeal beyond his aristocratic conservative base. The general has denied any ambition to stand in next year's election, but a France bitterly divided between two movements, Macron's centrist La Marche and Le Pen's national rally, there could be an opportunity for a soldier to pose as a unity candidate. God, what a nightmarish thought. So, general posing as a fucking unity candidate. Thing is, the precedent could basically be used to fund the entire executive branch. I don't know how I'm not sure if that's problematic necessarily, at least not from our perspective. But yeah, it is pretty funny. Yeah, authorization. That's what it was. The authorization of use of military force. Yeah, I could see how it's going farther than that. But what I was saying was, I think that was the point where people were kind of like okay with executive action. What is it called? Shit, executive orders being used for like anything. But yeah, I think you're right that it goes farther than that. Oh yeah, of course. No, a lot of Americans don't. I don't know about most, but a lot don't oppose the endless wars at all either. Yeah, problematic in the sense if you believe American institutions mean shit. Yeah, exactly. Got some nukes around the globe. I hope we don't get this kind of dumbass in command. Yeah, yeah. France is like, I don't know where their bases are at all, but I know France is in the same league as like a nuclear. Well, nobody's in the same league as the U.S., but France has like nukes, so yeah, not a good thing to see somebody like this at the helm of a country like that. Yeah. French Polynesia, West Indies, Europe, Indian Ocean. So lots of places. Lots of strategically significant places. Yeah. And that's, of course, the places that we would like have a reasonable sense that they've got them. I mean, maybe I'm a little tinfoil here, but I tend to think that nuclear programs might, be a little bit outside of legal boundaries at times. People might be installing things wherever they physically can, regardless of where they're allowed to do it. But yeah, not a good prospect to have somebody like this in charge of a stockpile like that. Yeah, High China's right. If that was indeed his plan, General de Villiers may find that his admirers in the military have jumped the gun by denouncing the Islamists of the hordes of the banlieue housing estates. Jesus. In warning of an imminent explosion, they are deploying the divisive language of Ms. Le Pen at a time when France is mourning the murder of a female police officer by a Muslim terrorist. How many people in France are mourning that death? That's like a police officer? Such inflammatory rhetoric is more likely to ignite the civil war they claim to fear than to avoid it. For all the simmering resentment of provincial France, few want to return to the violence of the Gilets Jaunes protests 2 years ago. Despite his unsteady handling of the COVID crisis, Macron was elected by an overwhelming majority in 2017, and polls suggest that he is on track to be re-elected for a second term. Talk of a military coup is most likely to rally the support for the president as the defender of democracy. Well, they say that he was elected overwhelmingly, but wasn't it like partly a function of the way that they do the vote count, where it's like he was like a more of a popular second choice, so people ended up having votes count for him because their first choice wouldn't work. Not the same as like first past the post in the US, but like a runoff or something like that. I think that was how it was. She worked on the administrative branch of the police. She was a secretary close to retirement. I could see people being more sympathetic to that then. It seems odd to be mourning over that given, like, you know, current events and sentiment toward the police. There were massive leftist protests against Macron even before he won. Well, yeah, I mean, come on. It's anybody can see what Macron is. And centrists usually end up being just what do you call it? A way for the right wing to sneak stuff in. Just like a greeter at the police station, almost welcoming people at the police station for administrative stuff. Yeah. Well, I could see why that would be something that people would actually mourn for. Yet as France prepares to commemorate the bicentenary of Napoleon's death next week, among the many ambiguities of his legacy is the fact that the most famous of all Frenchmen came to power in the archetypal coup d'etat. It will be awkward indeed for Emmanuel Macron to pay tribute to the general who led the Grande Armée across Europe, knowing that today's generals may be plotting to overthrow the Fifth Republic just as Napoleon did the First. There is an irony, too, in the fact that Macron's political style does show traces of what became known as Bonapartism after Louis Napoleon, a nephew of the great Napoleon, the first elected president of France, who in 1852 mounted his own coup d'etat and made himself Emperor Napoleon III. Though his reign ended in disaster, defeat in Franco-Prussian War cost him his throne. The Bonapartist temptation has never entirely disappeared. It reemerged in both world wars and was manifest again in the cult of General de Gaulle up to and beyond his death. The idea of Macron being like a Bonapartist is so funny to me. It's like his pretenses to being a Jupiterian. Yeah, no, I mean, of course, like, just like randomly killing some, even if they're like a really bad cop, just like random violence is not good. Let's see, what's this? 3 fishermen killed by a bombshell in Gaza waters. All right, well, that's going up near the top. It's not a very long article either. All right. There's just a little bit left of this one. Macron has consciously modeled himself on de Gaulle, not least to emphasize the contrast between his own legitimate rule and the dubiously democratic antecedents of Marine Le Pen. Now that the military has re-entered the French political arena, the president will have wasted no time in ensuring the loyalty of the armed forces. The specter is haunting France, the specter of a coup d'etat. The imperative is clear. Emmanuel Macron must rise to the occasion, not only to save his presidency, but to save France. I feel like Macron's maybe not the person for that job. Fucking Reddit trying to get you to create an account. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was did a pretty good job covering that story and being well written. Give it to the Frenchies, they know how to riot. That's true. This article is warmongering too, concern trolling shit. I could see it, yeah. I mean, there's definitely colors of that in it. It's poetic and nice, though. How many officers are really going to support La French Trumpet? Well, I mean, I think the whole argument here was that they would support putting in a general, somebody totally different. And they gave that example of what's his face. I already forgot. Let me pull it back up and 20 French generals. What was the name of the guy? Yeah, de Villiers. Yeah, that's his name. A very French name. I don't think they give a shit as long as they get paid. Yeah, I think it's a lot of like saber rattling and shit. I don't think that there's like strong prospects of a coup happening in France. I do think it's somewhat sensationalized, but it is very much a marker of the times that we're living in, that those 20 generals would fucking like sign off on a letter like that. So that's it's pretty fucking grim that we're at a point where they feel comfortable doing that, even if they're not actually going to follow up on it. Democracy seems overrated for some. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. But whether or not it's feasible to do a coup d'etat is the question, and I think it's not likely to succeed, especially considering how enmeshed France is in geopolitics. All right, let's see. So what's this story? April 28th. Kiev, Ukraine. March in honor of the Waffen SS Division Galicia. Yeah, so this was a march that happened by Ukrainian neo-Nazis. And this is posted on European Socialist subreddit. So here's the April 28th pictures. People coming out LARPing in their uniforms and shit. Which is, yeah, if anybody doesn't know, the SS, I don't know how you would know, the SS division which is part of the Nazi Germany's troops. Parade took place despite the announced lockdown and the legal ban on Nazi symbols, but who cares in modern Ukraine? They got big banners, assuming that's specific people who are considered heroes to them, to counteraction Russian. I think it's a lot of times there's the 18th premier of Marine Le Pen. I think that there's just like, there's always this kind of tendency, and because of the way things are in Russia and Ukraine, I think that probably the Western powers are happy to, slide some money to these people now and then and get them like support and get them kind of amped up to go out and do this shit. So yeah, we got lots of pictures of them parading around. Oh, there's a video here. Yeah, I agree. I think the Russian minister was sarcastic. Let's see. Like, yeah, Russia sucks, but like the idea that they're just like horrible threat. Pretty silly. Alright, so I can hear that they're saying something about Ukraine, but Ukraine is Ukraine. I don't know what else they're saying though. Yeah, so like, okay, where do they get the money for some shit like that? It is expensive to have a giant banner like that. So that's like a pretty big signal there that they're getting support from someone, that they just have all this fancy shit. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, Eugene, you're right that there's like this thing with people not believing that the U.S. supporting stuff like this, even though old Adolf was on the cover of like Time magazine and shit. In the entire multi-million city of Kiev, there was only one old man who came out to protest against the march. I think that might be a little inaccurate. You see one, but
фашистська символіка заборонена.
А де ви бачите символіку?
А це проголошення створення нацистської дивізії, дивізії СС. Наскільки мені відомо, це злочинна організація, яка заборонена. І заборонена.
Oh, the Ukrainian neo-Nazis are closely linked to the state in Ukraine. That's interesting. Some fascist Ukraine straight up get government defense funding. Oh, Marxist Project did a great 20-minute doc on Ukrainian fascists. Oh yeah, I think I remember that. I think I remember seeing that was out there. Might need to pull that up at some point. Put that on the one of the other SciTube channels. I mean, I have the time I could put. If you have a link to that, it would be good to post that for other people to see. But I might even be able to play that in the background on here at some point. What's this? So the song that they're singing is "There is no fascism in Ukraine." I don't know, I wonder how good the comments are on this subreddit. Let's see. Third picture, you can see Croatian neo-fascists. It's just because they're so anti-communist, or they're just... I don't know, dude. What do you think? Is there some overlap between anti-communists and fascists? What a novel concept. Like how often our Europe shows its real face and drops its mask. Such posts literally get ignored, gaining at most 10 upvotes, but when Russia does literally anything but the Western media accuses as bad, it gets 1,000 times more attention. Well, I mean, I don't know how aware, what is it, European socialists is the subreddit, but like, Reddit is literally operated partly by fucking intelligence services. Like, they screw around with the voting system all the time. It's like total nonsense. Ukrainian fascism has a long tradition. Thinking face, yeah. Let's see. Solidarity for the persecuted socialists and communists of Ukraine. Keep on fighting the good fight. It's honestly terrifying and saddening. I mean, I think this sounds like somebody who thinks it's purely organic, which is, it's not. There's a similar event in Bulgaria. I'm at a loss for words here, pardon my ignorance, but is this fringe thing in Ukraine, or is it common? It's kind of weird to compare it to neo-Confederates in the US, but I guess that sort of makes sense. Pretty different political history, I think. I mean, condemning an ethnicities. Oh, somebody said some bullshit about Ukrainians in general, I guess. All right, so nothing too like nasty and obviously glow in that comment section, which was not too bad. Usually you get some real glow shit in on Reddit. Reddit is cancer. I don't know what's worse at this point, Twitter or Reddit. Well, so the answer here is that you can't really say which one's worse. It's like Reddit is cancer and Twitter is AIDS. They're both terrible, but they're bad in different ways that you can't compare too directly because they're like so different. Let's see. All right, yeah, so that's the link to the Marxist Project's documentary on Ukraine's Nazi problem. The purpose of this video is to familiarize the viewer with the far-right movement in Ukraine and the relevant historical political context. It's 22 minutes and 48 seconds long. It goes through introduction, historical and geopolitical context, Maidan, key players in the future. So I'm actually add this to my watch later. There you go. So yeah, that's probably a good primer on it. Thanks for posting the link. Let's see. All right, so this is directly in response to that event, I believe. assuming there hasn't been like a couple of these like huge rallies that are just separate events. Corbyn joined socialists and communists in condemning neo-Nazi marches honoring SS war criminals in Ukraine. This is Morningstar. Jeremy Corbyn joined socialists and communists today in condemning a neo-Nazi march in honor of the World War II-era SS Galicia division that took place in Kiev on Wednesday. Marchers dressed in black trooped from the Arsenalna underground station to Independence Square with banners honoring the Waffen-SS division, which was mainly made up of far-right Ukrainian volunteers and participated in massacres of Polish civilians, including women and children, in Palikorovi and Pidkamen. So there you go. That gives you some good context on who it was that they were celebrating. Yeah. They carried the Galicia Division's lion emblazoned banner as well as flags of the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, a Nazi collaborator army that murdered hundreds of thousands of Jews and Poles during the Holocaust. Fascists chanted, "Glory to the nation, death to the enemies, glory to the soldiers of the Ukraine-Russian war," as the Ukrainian right depict the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union. And Galicia, Division of Heroes. Mr. Corbyn told the Morning Star, 75 years on from the defeat of fascism, it seems as if fascists are still active on the streets of Kiev and given free passage by the Ukrainian government. I feel like people might have focused a little too much on Germany with all this, like, you know, liberal anti-fascist projects that they did. Wasn't just Germany. Fascism has to be defeated in all forms everywhere. This May Day, let us unite against fascism all over the world for a future of peace and justice. David Rosenberg of the Jewish Socialist Group in the Morning Star said he was outraged to see a march by far-right groups in Ukraine honoring the Galicia division of the Waffen-SS who were fighting for the Nazis against anti-fascist partisans. Britain's relationship with the Ukrainian government that permitted this march became closer when President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Britain last October. We're calling on the British government to show it's serious about opposing anti-Semitism and fascism by condemning the counterparts in the strongest terms for permitting this march. Ole Voloshin, MP for the Ukrainian party opposition platform For Life, said, Britain and the West should stop pretending they don't notice the consistent and systemic rise of the far-right, openly neo-Nazi movements in Ukraine, enjoying total impunity and even random support from the government. Ukraine's problems with Russia are no excuse to turn a blind eye to the formation of a bulwark of radical and militant nationalism. Ukrainian Communist Party leader Petro Simonenko said, "This is not some random action. For all the years of independence, Ukraine as a state has never voted for a UN resolution condemning glorification and propaganda of fascism and Nazism." He added that the Nuremberg trials had been clear that the SS volunteer battalions were as implicated in Nazi atrocities as regular Wehrmacht formations, and the so-called anti-totalitarian law banning communist and Nazi symbols had only ever been used to prosecute communists. Whew. Yeah. So I guess it's good to see Corbyn joining in discussing that. What's this? Liberation News. Chad in turmoil after president's death. Oh yes, we covered, I talked about president being assassinated in Chad a little while ago. But I've got this this other article that was linked. I'll go through first. But I think this one's fairly short. I could get through it a little faster. All right, let's see. Death near the shore. Hamza Abu El Tarabesh. And the picture is Basim al-Laham, whose family were devastated by a recent explosion, holds two of her grandchildren. Muhammad al-Laham had two new sons. To celebrate the birth of Ahmad and Anwar, the twins had been named. Muhammad arranged a party on March 6th. 3 cakes were made specially for the occasion. Juice and nuts were served. The older children at the party danced and sang, and the family's home was decorated with balloons. After the festivities wrapped up around midnight, Muhammad, 27, went to check on the family's fishing boat with his brother Zakaria and their nephew Yahia. They always checked that their nets were in good condition and the boat's engine was functioning properly a few hours before setting out to sea. Early the following morning, the three fishers sailed approximately 1.5 miles beyond Gaza's coasts. From there, they cast their nets into the sea. An hour or so after setting out, an explosion occurred. The three fishers were killed in the blast. The family's boat was blown to pieces. Al-Mazan, a human rights group, issued a statement following the tragedy. According to that statement, the explosion was likely caused by an errant missile fired from the shore. Eyewitness testimony indicated that Palestinian resistance fighters were involved in a training exercise in the Khan Yunis area of Gaza, and they were firing missiles and other projectiles, Al-Mazan added. The Palestinian Center for Human Rights in Gaza also published a statement suggesting that the killings had been caused by the training activities of armed Palestinian groups. Gaza's Interior Ministry, however, has held Israel responsible for the fishers' deaths. A few days after the incident, the ministry claimed that parts of the quadcopter drone belonging to Israel were found in the fishers' nets. The drone carried explosives, according to the ministry. The ministry has suggested that the drone could have been used in an Israeli airstrike against Gaza during February and remained in the water since then. While there is much uncertainty surrounding the incident, two things are clear. The first thing is that the story exemplifies how Palestinian fishers are at constant risk. With Israel and Egypt putting Gaza under a complete blockade since 2007, the area in which fishers are allowed to work is extremely limited, and even where they are within the permitted zone, fishers can be shot at and injured or killed. The second thing is the incident has brought immense pain for the fishers' families. Mohammed al-Laham's wife, Feryal, has now to raise the baby twins and their three siblings on her own. I was happy when Mohammed arranged the party for the baby twins, she said. The next morning, all that happiness I felt turned into a great sorrow. It will never fade away. I don't know how I will be able to manage with 5 kids on my own. Hopeless. Mustafa al-Laham is grieving for his son Yahya, 29, and his 2 younger brothers Muhammad and Zakaria. I am torn apart, Mustafa, 48, said. I cannot describe the feeling of losing my 2 brothers and my son in the blink of an eye. Mustafa is accustomed to the dangers faced by fishers. In 2013, he was attacked by the Israeli Navy while at sea. He was arrested and detained for 2 days. The situation here is not like it used to be, he said. Most of the time now we work for days and weeks without making any money. But unfortunately, we still regard the sea as our only source of income. We are a hopeless case. His son Yahya had become a father just 6 months before the explosion. Yahya and his wife Suad were delighted that they had a little daughter, whom they named Samira. The couple had been married for 9 years, but had encountered difficulties in conceiving a child. Our life had changed for the better since Samira was born, Suad said. Yahya would talk to Samira before he went out to sea. He could spend an hour telling her about his dreams, about how he was making plans for our future. That was something he did almost every day. Now we have lost Yahya, life is miserable again, Suad said. I hope that I will not show Samira how sad I am. The thing that mattered most to Yahya was to see her smile. Zakaria al-Laham, 24, also left behind a child. His son Mumin was born in June last year. One of Zakaria's dreams was that he would be able to help Mumin to get a good education, Zakaria's wife, Allah, said. Zakaria hoped that Mumin would study to be a dentist. My heart is broken now, but I will try to make this dream come true. Yeah, regardless of what the source of the explosion was, that shit's fucking awful. And it's just like hell to be living in that situation. But yeah, given that there's like drones being used for that kind of warfare now, that's like, that's real fucked up. And a lot of times you have munitions like that end up not exploding immediately and then create a hazard later that people who have nothing to do with the conflict directly, they're like random civilians, will stumble across, and then it just ruins or ends a bunch of lives. All right, let's wow. Okay, that's a hell of a fucking picture. somebody tweets about their son, and like, I don't know if this is like a specific person, Ariel Gold. It's like, yeah, he was reading Love Thy Neighbor as Thyself at his bar mitzvah. He spoke for Palestinian human rights, and then you've got this fucking StopAntisemitism.org, some like NGO or whatever, like just fishing for stuff about like things they can say against the fucking Palestinians. Like, come on. Any mention of Hamas rockets hitting the homes of Jewish children in Israel? Like, come on. Kids trying to say something inclusive and shit, and like, oh, is there anything about these alleged terrorists trying to kill settlers? Yeah, pretty gross, and like, I don't even know what you call it. It's not like it's not predatory, it's like scavenging. It's like being a vulture looking for something that you can pick at. It's really gross. So here's another story linked from chat. Also following up on something that we were looking at previously. Chad in turmoil after president's death. Who was Idris Deby? I think I kind of went into the history a bit for how yeah, right, anti-Semitism is when you care about human rights for Palestinians, right? All right, let's see. Photo: a French military helicopter flies over a town hosting a base used by the armies of Chad, Niger, and France as part of Operation Barkhane. Crisis is gripping Chad following demise of Idris Deby, a longtime dictator of the country and close ally to France and the United States. This is Liberation. What is it called? LiberationNews.org. He succumbed to battle wounds April 20th. Fighting between the government and rebels is raging as a newly announced council of military leaders attempts to consolidate its control of the country. Deby was apparently killed in battle in Chad's northern region while fighting a Libya-based Front for Change and Concord in Chad. Fact. Although details of the attack have not been made public. His funeral was announced by French President Emmanuel Macron, who said France, the former colonial ruler of the country, lost a loyal friend and close ally. Deby's death is causing a rising tension in the country, especially after Deby won last week's presidential election for his 6th term. The election was boycotted by most opposition groups, citing arrests and government bans on opposition rallies. Deby had ruled the country since 1990. To fill the power vacuum, high-ranking military commanders who were part of Deby's regime announced that they would rule the country for an 18-month period after dissolving Chad's National Assembly. The council subsequently named Deby's son, 37-year-old General Mahamat Deby Itno, as interim president. After Deby's death came to light, FACT said it was ready to initiate a ceasefire and negotiations, but was rebuffed by the military council. The Chadian military on April 24th claimed it has decimated the rebels through a series of airstrikes. Deby came to power after a December 1990 coup that overthrew President Hissène Habré. Habré was also supported by France and the United States, especially in his attempts to topple Libya's government, then led by Muammar Gaddafi. The Western countries turned a blind eye and continued to support Habré despite his documented crimes against humanity, for which he was convicted in 2016. Well, that seems kind of... So, like, what's the point of convicting somebody for crimes against humanity if they remain in power? Yeah, loyal friend and close ally, aka puppet, exactly. Similarly, France and the United States continue to extend their support to Deby in spite of widespread allegations of corruption, repression, targeting the opposition, and mismanagement of Chad's oil revenue. Deby's role as a loyal servant to French and U.S. imperialism allowed him to continue his tenure despite pervasive opposition and dissatisfaction with his rule, including multiple armed rebellions. The Deby regime played a key strategic role in supporting France's ongoing counter-terrorist military intervention across the Sahel. This intervention is carried out with assistance from the Pentagon. Through Operation Barkhane, the French military installed its forces across northwest Africa, ostensibly to fight terrorist insurgencies in the region. Operation Barkhane is headquartered in Chad's capital, N'Djamena. Chad's armed forces play an active role in fighting alongside and subordinate to the French military despite the mounting civilian death toll. It should be noted that both France and the United States led the charge in the NATO-led overthrow of the Libyan government in 2011. This set off a chain reaction, fueling the rise of religious fundamentalist insurgent groups in the region that they are now claiming to combat with Operation Barkhane. Very useful to create a continuous source of terrorists to fight. Wonder if is that a thing that they've done before in other places? U.S. and French corporations have long plundered Chad's wealth, including the vast energy deposits found underneath Lake Chad. In this period of turmoil, they are determined to ensure the country's government continues to facilitate this process. Companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron dug their claws into Chad's estimated 1 billion barrels of oil through hundreds of oil rigs in the 1990s and with the construction of the Chad-Cameroon pipeline. Both Chad and Cameroon's governments combined owned only 3% of this project. During Debby's 3 decades in power, the people of Chad had their rights trampled and their resources stolen. The United States and France are scrambling to maintain their neo-colonial grip on the country now that their loyal servant is gone. So that gives some pretty decent background on the story, but wasn't giving too much information about how it's in turmoil now. What was this link? Oh, that looks interesting. All right, we'll do that next. I think after this, all I've got are the things from News Anon. Yeah, there's some good stuff in News Anon's post that I would like to get to, though. But yeah, this looks fucking interesting. Car caravans around the U.S. demand end to the blockade on Cuba. That's just seems like strange and spontaneous. North, south, east, and west, U.S. activists across the country gathered for car caravans and rallies demanding the end of the U.S. blockade of Cuba. The last Sunday of each month since this year has seen growing actions here in support of Cuba. President Biden does not intend to lift the 242 brutal measures signed by President Trump. These include the 2019 banning of all remittances by Cuban Americans to their families on the island and placing Cuba on the supporters of state terrorism list, an outright lie that is intended to harm Cuba's international relations and trade even further. In April, National Security Council advisor on Western Hemisphere affairs Juan Gonzalez announced that Biden will not take action to ease up on the blockade. Yep, see? Republican cranks everything to the right, and then the Democrat keeps it from moving back. You got the, what's the name of that? The ratchet effect is what people call that. Answer Coalition's director Brian Becker stated this week, this means that Trump's vicious policy toward Cuba is now Biden's policy. Well, I mean, is it not? The government has claimed for 60 years it is acting for the Cuban people by maintaining the blockade. That's a lie, no shit, which the whole world rejects. It is a calculated, multi-pronged weapon designed to cause suffering for the Cuban people. Yet Washington's goal of regime change has not succeeded, and it never will. It's up to us in the progressive movement to stand with Cuba and to organize against these illegal coercive measures. Who said that? That's a quote. Where did they get that quote? It's in quotations, but it doesn't say who said it. Somebody's got a sign on their car that says, "Return Guantanamo to Cuba." This is in Nashville, Tennessee on April 25th. Cars with placards and Cuban flags lined up from New York City to Nashville to San Diego to Miami to ride through city streets, more than 20 rolling protests with the aim of raising awareness and a spirit of solidarity with Cuba. All pledged to build for the next Cuba caravan on Sunday, May 30th. Well, shit. That's a month from now. I got time for that. These actions will culminate in support of the United Nations General Assembly vote on the yearly resolution of the need to end the embargo on Cuba. Well, I mean, like, that's... I don't know. Maybe if there's enough pressure, Biden would do something, but I'm not seeing it. But this is a very good sign that people are actually taking this shit seriously and trying to do stuff in the U.S. Miami, a couple hundred Cuban-American families and others from the Cuba Solidarity Movement gathered this morning in Miami's Little Havana neighborhood to hear rousing speeches, music, and announcements of birthday celebrations before returning to their cars and trucks and bicycles that made up the monthly End the Blockade of Cuba caravan. More than 80 cars, trucks, and bikes made their way through the streets of Miami's Little Havana. Car horns honking and flags flying, many onlookers waved approval at this display of action in the ongoing struggle against to end the blockade and travel ban, and for the uniting of Cuban families, which has now become a global movement, including in Cuba. Well, I mean, obviously it would be in Cuba. San Francisco. In a rally before 25 cars proceeded through the historic Mission Latino district, Nathan Kim, a medical resident from the Do No Harm Coalition of Doctors, told the crowd, "We have stockpiled vaccines that the world needs. We do not give them out. We do not really send out doctors." And then I look at Cuba. They're sending brigades of doctors. They're sending public health know-how. They are creating their own vaccine, not just for themselves. They're creating 5 different vaccines, last I heard. Not just for themselves, but for other countries that have been abandoned. Even a portion of their healthcare system would do so much here. Yeah, right. Not just here, but everywhere. Anywhere that they would allow it. Let's see, what do the signs say here? In the U.S. blockade of Cuba now, answer coalition. U.S. hands off Cuba. In the U.S. blockade. In the U.S. blockade in Cuba. Return Guantanamo to Cuba. This is San Francisco. Also, Cuba's flag is way nicer than the U.S. flag. It's symmetrical. It doesn't have that weird 7/13 of the width of the flag blue field. I'm still pretty I'm iffy about stripes on flags, period, but it's a better design. Despite the rain, the turnout was the largest yet in San Francisco. Activists from Answer, Code Pink, Task Force on the America's Peace and Freedom Party, Do No Harm, Freedom Archives, Socialist Workers' Party, Party for Socialism and Liberation, Committee in Solidarity with Cuba and Venezuela took part. So it's a big coalition of groups. Oh, cool video about this. I'll redo the end of the San Francisco section and pull that up. Damn, it's a lot of lists of places. 24th and Mission Streets in particular, people in their cars and out on the street could be seen taking out their phones to film the caravan going by, with many waves, cheers, and honks in support of the clear message of opposition to U.S. aggression towards Cuba. To close out the opening rally, Gloria La Riva, coordinator of the Cuba and Venezuela Solidarity Committee, when Joe Biden was running for president, he said, "I will return to the measures that Obama passed, allowing groups and individuals to travel to Cuba, allowing remittances to Cuban people, and other positive measures, although the blockade was still in effect. Biden promised to change it publicly because he knew people wanted the end of the blockade, and what has he done? In fact, the opposite. We will stand with Cuba, we will stand with Venezuela, we will stand with all the countries sanctioned blockaded." All right, so there's a Twitter video about this protest in San Francisco. Or at least this, yeah, it looks like it's specifically about San Francisco.
What do we want? End the blockade! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? End the blockade! When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
End the blockade!
Let's make it known that every day the blockade continues is another day that the U.S. is violating the sovereign right of Cuba and its people to self-determination.
Not too long ago, the United States that the Cuban country was a sign of terrorism. But what I have seen from Cuba is doctors. What I have seen from Cuba is vaccines. What I have seen from Cuba is international
bucket compared to what revolutionary Cuba can do unimpeded by U.S. imperialism.
Let's give our fists up in the air for Cuba, Cuba's revolution, Cuba's doctors, nurses, construction workers, the agricultural workers, the stewards, everybody in Cuba who says, don't mess with us.
So last Sunday of the month is when they do these. I'm just hearing about this for the first time. Surprisingly based for the United States. And yeah, here's a picture of the UN vote to end the U.S. embargo against Cuba. In favor of ending it, basically the whole world. Against it, the U.S. and Israel. Did not vote Ukraine and I can't. Oh shit! I forget what state that is. But like, oh, is that? Wait, is that? That's not what I think it is it? Well, that's not even labeled on this map. Jeez. Alright, yeah. So, like, nobody supports this except for the US, is the point. Yee. That's, shows how useful the US is with affecting US policy. I mean, the UN is affecting US policy. Alright, let's go back to the article. So that was LA. That video was from Moldova. Oh, that's, yeah, Moldova. I was, shit. So wait, yeah, that's not, it wasn't even identified on the map. All right, so you can see like what fucking burger brain I've got. I was thinking that it was Crimea for a second, but that's like the part that's below. That's like lower down. Yeah, that's like the little piece that's in the Black Sea. Yeah. It must be embarrassing to be like one of those countries that just doesn't get labeled on those maps. Oh, you gotta... Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah. Here, for idiots like me who don't know all the countries by heart. Yeah, Moldova. I always have trouble with this area. Yeah, that's Crimea. So yeah, Moldova, and then Crimea's like over here. Yeah. That's burger education geography for you. All right. Let's go. Let's keep going. See where else this is. So let me just I'll run through each of the other listed places. Milwaukee, Auburn and Birmingham, Alabama, San Diego, Nashville, Tennessee, Seattle, Washington, big cities. Probably also some stuff at smaller ones too. See, Milwaukee, 40 cars and 60 people. So maybe they're going to keep getting bigger though. It's encouraging to see this, but that's, I mean, Milwaukee's a pretty big city. 60 people's not that many. Oh, interesting. The support was overwhelming, with dozens of people coming out of their homes to wave Puerto Rican and Cuban flags as the caravan rolled past. The caravan was planned by the Milwaukee Coalition to normalize relations with Cuba, Party for Socialism Liberation Milwaukee, and Los Brown Berets Milwaukee. During the rally prior to the car caravan, the crowd heard a voice message from a young person who... Come on. Trying to unclick... There we go. A young person from Milwaukee currently studying to become a doctor in Cuba, Olivia Albanese, Probably Albanese, who is from Milwaukee's north side, stated, all Cuba has asked from me in return for this education is to return to my home country and serve the poor and most oppressed people who cannot access health care. The blockade doesn't only hurt Cuba, but it hurts the people of the United States as well. Cuba has so much to offer the world, but because of the blockade, it cannot do so. Damn. Oh, man, what a flex. Yeah, we'll give you an education to become a doctor, just like go back to the US and help all those people who aren't getting fucking healthcare because your system sucks. Wow. Alright, let's move that over here real quick. Yep. Alright, Auburn and Birmingham, Alabama. PSL members from Auburn, Opelika, Phoenix City, or Phoenix City? There's no O in the Phoenix there. In Goodwater, Alabama, came together to demand an end to the blockade in Cuba. In Auburn, after the decorated cars, the activists had a small introductory rally. PSL Birmingham member Jamie Johnson said this caravan is a major movement in the Deep South. It is showing that there is support for the Cuban people and there is support for the revolution of the Cuban people. The caravan headed out at 11 a.m. to follow route. Hey, Menzies Media, what's up? The caravan headed out at 11 a.m. to follow route 3 times down College Street past the historic Toomer's Corner in the East Sanford Avenue and Gay Street and a highly residential area. After looping around the large Tiger Town shopping district 3 times, the caravanners held a small demonstration where chants such as "Hands off Cuba" and "Cuba yes, blockade no" could be heard echoing down the road. Aside from a handful of hecklers, reception was overall positive, with people giving thumbs up and raising their fists in the air. That evening, PSL Birmingham, Alabama, held a documentary screening of the 3-part The War on Cuba at East Village Arts. The event included a Q&A and discussion. It went off exceptionally well, with a strong attendance and overall support from everyone present. Discussion revolved around topics such as the blockade of Cuba, U.S. foreign policy, Cuba's relationship with Vietnam, medical diplomacy, and the current vaccine apartheid by the U.S. and Europe. Cool, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by, Menzies Media. Yeah, Cuba's been incredibly based with all the stuff that it does for healthcare around the world. Oh yeah, that's right. You put that on, right? The war on Cuba. Yeah. Yeah, that was produced by Oliver Stone and Danny Glover. Strange combination, but very it's only like 45 minutes or something, I think. Very, very good coverage of the situation. Very slickly produced. The War on Cuba. It's on YouTube. San Diego. Over a dozen different, and this is the picture of San Diego. Over a dozen participants gathered midday at the California Center for the Arts in Escondido for a car caravan organized by Answer San Diego, Unión de Barrio, the PSL, and San Diego Brown Beret National Organization. At the initial rally, Gretel Rodriguez of Answer told the crowd, "Cuba needs us working people to realize our freedoms are tied together. We as a community must raise the visibility of this struggle and push to educate as many people as possible about the deadly policy the U.S. wages against the Cuban people, and against their own people, and against all the other people in the world, pretty much." I mean, think about how many lives could be saved if Cuba was able to, fully cooperate around the world with their medical capabilities. Nashville. Young activists in several cars rode through Nashville's famed music district and downtown with signs that read, "Cuba's not our enemy, in the blockade now." Veterans for Peace, Answer, PSL, and community activists worked together for the city's first caravan in favor of Cuba. So that's Tennessee, another very not exactly like super southern state, but rural Indiana. 4 cities, Indianapolis, Goshen, Fort Wayne, and Evansville, were the sites of speak out rallies to educate the public about exactly what the blockade is and why U.S. people should oppose it. And that's Indiana, but it's a short one. And then Seattle, I think this is, yeah, Seattle's the last one they got on here. Members of the Committee in Solidarity with Cuba gathered on foot in Northeast 125th Street and Lake City Way for a picket, speak out, and social media live stream event at 11 a.m. At noon, about 12 cars took off from a parking lot near the Lake City post office. Cars were decked out with Cuban flags and laminated signs. The picket and car caravan both received positive responses from pedestrians and drivers passing by. The event was sponsored by the Seattle-Cuba Friendship Committee and co-sponsored by Answer Coalition, U.S. Women and Cuba Collaboration, Party for Socialism and Liberation, Puentes de Amor, and Socialist Workers' Party. I've heard before that there are amazing doctors in Cuba. Yeah, not just doctors, but also like research and stuff. Cuba's, last I heard, they're currently developing 5 different COVID vaccines in Cuba, and they're doing a lot of work to export vaccines around the world. But yeah, like they mentioned in, which one was it? Was it, I think it was Alabama. No, it's earlier than this. Yeah, Milwaukee. They had, who was it? Olivia Albanese going to Cuba to study, to become a doctor. All Cuba's asked for me in return for this education is to return to my home country and serve the poor and most oppressed people who cannot access health care. The blockade doesn't only hurt Cuba, but it hurts the people of the United States as well. Cuba has so much to offer the world that because of the blockade, it cannot do so. Yeah, so. Totally different way of approaching healthcare from what the U.S. does, where everything is just, money. We gotta find profit to extract. Free Cuba, I agree. Free Cuba. And they've developed medicines. Yes, yeah. Lots of, like the COVID vaccine is the big one now, but there's other stuff too. Yeah, they've got, a totally different approach to dealing with medicine, so they have the ability to do things that aren't simply seeking treatments that you perpetually give people for profit. There's been like medicines developed in the capitalist West where they don't get implemented because it's not profitable to just cure a disease compared to, giving somebody a treatment that's going to take years. Don't they have like a treatments for stuff like cancer? I don't know a lot of the details, but there's definitely a lot of different drugs that have been squashed because it's not it works, but it's not profitable to your insurance company or whatever, or to the manufacturer compared to a different product that would only treat the disease. So that's what happens when you let profit decide how to handle healthcare. What do you mean cure someone of cancer? Think of the returns. Yeah. There was a fucking tweet. Bloomberg Quick Take the other day had a tweet. I'll see if I can pull it up. But they were basically saying, there was an article that they were spreading on their Twitter. It was like, could China be developing their healthcare industry too fast? Could they be curing diseases too quickly? It was like just ridiculous nonsense. Let me see if I can find it so I can get exactly what the thing was. They tweet so much. Let me see. I could do a search of their from Quick Take. I think it was China. It was China or like India or something. I think it was China. Let's see. They might have deleted it also because people would see how stupid it was. I wish I had the screen cap of that so I could like search for the exact terms. But yeah, like it's this bizarre mentality of like, oh no, we've got to milk this problem for as much cash as we can. We can't just solve anything. Everything's got to be turned into a fertile ground for profit. Damn. Yeah, shit. I'm going back April 20th now, and I'm not seeing it yet. But yeah, they need to go further. I agree. The only thing I don't like about China's healthcare is it's too liberal. Even the last batch of reforms that came out last week. Yeah, that's always this weird thing, is that these like revolutionary communist projects end up kind of like choking when it comes to how radical they can be. And part of that might be, you know, they don't want to be sanctioned and stuff like that. But, you know, it wouldn't be this big problem, really, for a lot of things if you just went as radical as you could go. Like, the more you socialize production, the better it tends to go. So I think part of the problem is, like, once you have that little bit of capitalist interest embedded in the system, it starts to grow and corrupt everything. So, yeah, what's this? I'm kind of talking out my ass right now, though. Oh, is it Washington Post? Maybe it was. Oh, this is a different thing. Oh, come on. Drag the tab. Why is it not working? Drag the tab over here. I can't. All right, the window is having trouble with the tabs right now. China's a net importer of pharmaceutical goods. That would, I don't know. I feel like China is in a position where they produce so much of like some kinds of things that they probably would be in a position to import a lot of others. Come on. Why am I not able to drag this tab? Let me try reopening it. I want to show this picture because it's wild. All right, fuck it. I'll just, hold on. I'll copy and paste the fucking address into the window since the thing doesn't want to work. All right, there we go. Yeah, so from Washington Post, China had a head start on coronavirus vaccinations, is now falling behind the West. But then you like, that's the headline. You read down and later in the article, it says China. I'll read the whole paragraph. According to official forecasts, China will produce just about enough doses by year's end to cover 70% of its 1.4 billion people, but reaching that threshold this year would require keeping nearly all its projected 2 billion doses at home. China has instead shipped millions of doses to developing nations and pledged hundreds of millions more. So that's what's happening, but it's like, they're trying to play it like, despite being ahead of us at first, China's system has fucked them over. It's like communism can't give people food and it can't give them vaccinations. They always love doing that kind of shit. Oh yeah, if you want to come on, if anybody in the chat wants to come on, let me see. Can I try to figure out how the fuck this works? There's supposed to be like, I still don't know how the fuck Matrix works with getting the lists or the link to a room, but I'm on Matrix, and that's how I've been doing like the conferences with people. If you want to come on, you can direct message me. Currently, the way that I can have it set up is you direct message me. I have the same handle that I do everywhere else on here. We just Boss Agnostic, and I can get you an invite to the room where we do the video chat. But yeah, for some reason I can't figure out what the... Okay, no, here we go. That's it. I think this should be the link to the Matrix room. That's, or to the green room. That way we can like discuss when people want to come on. Let's see. Another thing, more China bad. All right, let me see. All right, this one, for some reason, this tab I can just drag over here. All right, let's see if I can zoom in. But like, yeah, okay, I need to zoom out a little bit so that it won't. There we go. After China turned it into a cheap snack, caviar is at risk of losing its status as a luxury good. Oh no, the poor are going to be able to enjoy the creature comforts that were previously only accessible to the rich. China fulfills a dream to end the poverty. Not all poor people are feeling better off. Man, you remember when I was like poor and I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. I didn't have indoor plumbing. I didn't have heating or air conditioning. I didn't have a refrigerator or a microwave. I miss those days. Life's too easy now. I have to scramble for God. What a fucking joke. That's just grotesque. I don't know what's up with, I thought that the Keck W emote was something that you could just post, but maybe that's like specific to somebody's thing or whatever. I don't know. It might be, that might be one of those like emotes that's locked behind thing. But yeah, that's El Rosita's laughing. Unfortunately, yeah, that's another note. Happened yesterday. I think he passed away. The famous laugh. Now that I'm reminded of that, let me pull up a short video. Get him laughing. This guy.
Te llamo para que vaya a recoger la paellera. Y me acuesto en su, ya para abrir.
He just passed away yesterday.
Y me llama el cocinero. Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren,
if you want to find the image, I guess, other than the emote, you can just search El Rosita's laugh. I'll type the name in chat. Yeah, he was like 64, 65, I think. But this guy, like, just like, he's great. I'm glad that people are going to remember him for this level of joy. What a thing to be remembered for.
Porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de Chipiona, del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y a ver solamente paellera.
Man, he was like one of those those memes where they edit subtitles onto the video for a long time too, before they just started extracting the laughs. Oh, they've even got a little. They edited the video. Rest in peace, Juan Joya Borja. April 5th, 1956 to April 28th, 2021. Spanish comedian and actor known by the stage name El Rositas. Yeah, I don't know too much about, like, how popular he was, you know, outside of the internet meme. But he was, like, he was a funny guy. I do have the, oh, where can you find this image? Oh, okay, yeah. I'll just copy the link in the chat. There you go. It was posted in the SciTube. Let me see. So, yeah, that's just, it's, somebody posted this on Reddit, I guess. It's a Reddit link. After, yeah, there we go. China fulfills its dream to end poverty. Not all poor people are feeling better off. You know, that's worthy, that subtitle, that title, that headline is worthy of, that's what I think of that title. It's like the perfect reaction to these headlines. Okay, here's quick take. China's curing cancer. Oh, this is the one. This is the one. Oh yeah, and I forgot to tell people I've got the little thing. So if you want to post laughing picture or whatever else, I've got a little widget that bounces them around the screen. So if you want to interact through the Twitch chat, there's that. I had to re-sign into Matrix, so I'm not sure the invite to the room is right. Oh. Yeah, sometimes the Matrix chat rooms have given, like, the wrong links through, because I use Element, and I think that Element sometimes fucks that stuff up. So it might have been the wrong, link. I think, oh shit, where's that, what's that, 20, that's from Infrared? Alright, well hey, I'll allow that. Here we go. Resign into Matrix so I'm not, yeah. Element's kind of shitty. If you want to get in contact with me to like come on the show, the best way is to just direct message me. It's same, you could copy and paste my handle from the chat if you need, but it's the same as that. You direct message me and I'll add you to the room. But yeah, all right. I'll be fair to Infrared. The CPUSA 2036 is a pretty good little emote there. I wish I had their optimism for CPUSA, but anyway. So Bloomberg, here's Bloomberg. China's curing cancer faster and cheaper than anywhere else, but some worry they may be going too fast. Oh, no wonder I didn't see it. I only saw the picture like the other day, but it's from January. Wow. Some worry they may be going too fast, curing cancer. I know, yeah, it literally is China bad because China good. That's like the level of discourse that we're at now. God. Alright, what's next? Literally, has China done too well against COVID-19? I mean, they didn't let enough people die. They didn't let enough people get infected with COVID. How could you do this, China? How could you fight this virus? It's not fair to this virus. China, you're being racist against the China virus. Stop being such a colonizer of yourself. How do you even DM in the sync chat? Damn, that's actually a good question. Shit. I think you can add, or you can search for people and then like type in the, yeah, you can search for people and then, or maybe you could start a chat and then add somebody. I'm new to the whole, I'm new to SciTube, so I'm not entirely sure about all those things. I'm pretty sure you could find me with just like search for people, and I should come up and you'd be able to like click or right click on me and start a direct message. I should get a notification for it. Oh yeah, let's see. Yeah. All these kids, these whippersnappers with the TikToks and the Twitch and the Twitter and Element. Well, how are you supposed to keep up with all of it? I don't know. Yeah. What's the next? So here, the last one on the image. The Economist. China's fast-rising coronavirus hospitals are an example of decisive Communist Party action and the dark side of one-party rule. Like, yeah, that's okay. That's SciTube though. Yeah, I'm talking about getting on Matrix chat to talk. It would be really cool if we had some kind of chat app on leftypol directly the way we do with SciTube, but sadly we can't just directly invite people to video chat through the SciTube interface. Maybe not so sadly. That'd be kind of glowy. The feds wrongly accused my father of spying for China. Wow. Yeah. Oh, of course the government is like all on top of this kind of stuff. All these Western governments really feel threatened by China. Not because they're like some great communists necessarily, so much as, well, you know, multipolarity, as Infrared would say. What's this one? Come on. Shit. Just click. Yeah, alright. These fucking ad shit. But yeah, no, fuck. How does, I wish they would fucking, god damn it. I think I could turn off this ad blocker and it should still be good. Alright. Yeah, okay, this, I have a native ad blocker that I can't turn off. That it's stopping me from viewing this. Shit. Let me see. See if I can archive this page. It probably already is an archive. It usually is for news articles. Yeah, 2 days. Okay, there we go. That'll read. I can read that just fine. Good. Man, you're keeping me so saturated with news that I'm not even getting to News Anon's post yet. Let's see, what's this? The FBI wrongly accused my father of spying for China. Our government has an anti-Asian bias too. Yeah, this is the story you were referencing. See, liberals out here making a case for Empire's universal healthcare plan. Yeah. Yeah, Obama's not. No, Obama's not a health. It's. Yeah, China. All right. Yeah, they're trying to spin all that good stuff as bad stuff. It's just hilarious. All right, so my dad's wrongful persecution is emblematic of anti-Asian violence by the U.S. government. We must address the government's role in hate. This is from USA Today. I think I'm going to skim this one a little bit. But, yeah, this is... In response to horrific attacks against Asian Americans across the country, the Biden administration has announced a new initiative to combat anti-Asian violence, xenophobia, and bias. Days later, a federal court denied my family recourse for the anti-Asian violence and xenophobia, and the Obama-Biden administration subjected us to several years ago when the Justice Department said and FBI falsely accused my father of sending sensitive technology to China and treated him as a Chinese spy. So we're doing Japanese internment again, I guess. Doing a softer version of that. How bad is this going to get, I wonder? They're just doing it like covertly now. Mainstream narratives around anti-Asian violence have often overlooked a simple fact. The same federal government that recently expressed sympathy for Asian American communities has long perpetuated harm against our communities and continues to do so. As the country moves from righteous outrage toward the longer-term work of protecting our communities, we must also look at the bigger picture. Truly combating anti-Asian racism will require addressing the government's role in it. Yeah, of course. Shit, has the U.S. government apologized for Japanese internment yet? I don't remember. Let's see. Yes, for the... see if I can send you the Matrix invite. This should be it. It's the share room link. Let's see what's... Basically, Biden bros don't really want a war with China, but any talk of China is anything other than the yellow peril is out of favor at this point in burger history. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, Russia and China are just these like scapegoats they're using for all bad things dealing with geopolitics. You really can't say China's our friend. China doesn't want to be Burgerland's friend. They want to crush Burgerland. They want to be number one, as in first in line to get the largesse of transnational capital. Yep. They didn't apologize for nuking Japanese civilians. Yeah, I feel like there was, like, Obama made some overture toward that at some point, but yeah, they still haven't apologized for Hiroshima and Nagasaki being bombed. I feel like there might have been something about Japanese Americans, which you have to understand. Those are Americans, so of course they're going to get the internment camps would be apologized for before they would apologize for nuking civilians. But yeah, I don't think that they even apologized for that. The U.S. is not well known for apologizing for its atrocities or doing anything to rectify them. Yeah, an ongoing nightmare. In 2015, the FBI raided my family's home one morning, woke up at a gunpoint and dragged my dad, Xiao Xing Shi, away in handcuffs in front of my mom, sister, and me. We were confused and terrified. Later, we found out the Justice Department was accusing my father of illegally sending sensitive technology to China. They threatened him with 80 years in prison and $1 million in fines. It kind of sounds like they just were suspicious a little bit, and so they decided to do this shit just to see hey, maybe we'll catch something on this guy. They like that kind of shit. Nuking Japan was a high point in the American empire. It was all piss poor management, downhill from there. I hate it, but you're kind of right. That's like the last great flex that they did. It's like they got away with that. That was the only time somebody's used nuclear weapons against a target. Yeah. Fuck. Fucking hell world, man. Hell country, at least. After the Justice Department publicized its charges against my father, newscasters surrounded our home and tried to film through windows to get a glimpse of our family. Jesus Christ. The FBI rummaged through all our belongings and carried off electronics and documents containing many private details of our lives. All right, I'm not going to skim this because this is just too much. For months, we lived in fear of FBI intimidation and surveillance. We worried about our safety in public, given that my dad's face was plastered all over the news. My dad was unable to work and his reputation was shattered. The government's accusations were entirely false, but based on emails about academic collaboration between my dad and his colleagues that had nothing to do with the technology the government claimed. Eventually, the Justice Department dropped the case, but not before leaving us traumatized and saddled with enormous legal fees. To this day, we carry many, not even fucking paying the legal fees, man. Oh, I have to send an invite. That's what the problem is. I have to send you a link to invite you or something. But I don't want to. There should be a link that you can create that is an invite link. God damn it. Yeah, so I can just link you to the room, but then I have to invite you to get you in. Yeah, I think the only way it's gonna work right now, the way it's set up, is if you direct message me on Matrix. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, the bare minimum that they could do is just pay their legal fees out of the government's money. Come on. Or just wait. I mean, the legal fees are being they're paid toward the government, so just erase them. Fucking prejudicial as shit. Same name is on here. Okay, I can add you then. Let me see. Invite to this room. I think I might have. Is there a hyphen in it or? Oh, okay. Different name. All right. See if that works. Yeah, also, if you're not able to get contacted me, you can private message me on the SciTube or on Twitch or whatever else if you have the ability. Then I can invite you directly with your username. All right, looks like that worked. we can figure out shit. Come on. There we go. All right, source for the nuke claim. All right. I can go to that real quick after I... Well, actually, since that's relevant directly to what I'm talking about right now. This is from The Guardian. This is about the nukes on Japan. Obama will not apologize for Hiroshima attacks, he tells Japanese TV. Hey, well, maybe Trump apologized during his term for it. Yeah, of course he wouldn't. He also like got a lot of bullshit over like people thinking he was going to apologize. Like there were tons of Americans who thought that like Obama was going to apologize for committing an atrocity. Not him personally, but the U.S., and that was going to make the U.S. look weak. Like, the U.S. doesn't apologize for anything. We are proud Americans, and we're proud that we fucking dropped a couple of nukes on a bunch of civilians. Like, there were tons of Americans who thought Obama was literally the next... There were lots of Americans who thought Obama was the next Jesus, and there were a lot of Americans who thought that Obama was the Antichrist. That happens with a lot of presidential politicians, as it turns out. That's a function of U.S. politics. So yeah. I don't think I need to go through this any more than to just say, like, yeah. He visited Hiroshima on Sunday, May 22nd, 2016. So yeah. Just unapologetic. Yeah, we nuked you, so what? What are you gonna do about it, basically? Yeah. I'm surprised I haven't seen an I hate the Antichrist meme with Obama in it, but that's like an old thing at this point, I guess. We're a whole other presidential term after that was relevant. These were anti-Asian acts at the hands of the U.S. government. My dad, an American physics professor, is nothing close to a spy. He does not even work on sensitive research. Yet prosecutors recklessly charged him with crimes based on his Chinese heritage as part of a broader effort to crack down on China and its supposed spies. Makes you wonder who else they might have done shit like this to, but you just haven't heard about it because they're being quiet about the whole thing. Without legitimate evidence, the government was able to deploy its powerful national security apparatus against us, including intrusive and secretive surveillance under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. In the process, it upended a family. We pursued a civil rights lawsuit to seek some semblance of justice, but now our legal claims for damages have been dismissed. History of racial profiling. The unjust prosecution of my father was not an isolated incident, but one of several targeting Chinese American scientists. Here we go. People like Wen-Ho Lee and Sherry Chen, among others, have been painted as spies and had their lives turned upside down, only to have their cases dropped by the government. Yeah. So this is all... So, see, if you're in the U.S. and you're black, the police will come shoot you. If you're in the U.S. and you have Chinese heritage, the police will start a frivolous investigation into you, leave you with a bunch of legal fees, and then fuck off and act like they did nothing wrong. Fucking ridiculous, dude. Under Donald Trump, this problem grew more pernicious. FBI Director Christopher Wray publicly doubled down, casting students and researchers of Chinese descent as potential spies and stating that the FBI views China not just a whole of government threat, but a whole of society threat. It's the same fucking shit that they said about Japan. The same fucking shit they said about Japan. They're using different language, but it's the same shit. Same song and dance. Fucking goddamn bullshit. They're doing it again. Going to be writing a random letter generator just to put into GitHub as a... Alright, yeah. Probably a good idea. Xinjiang, though. Yeah, well, I don't think that this guy has anything to do with whatever is happening in Xinjiang. Yeah, both things can be bad. Yeah, both things can be bad. Sure, whatever. But this is like nothing to do with that. Why do you hate Muslims? I don't hate Muslims. There's no Muslims involved anywhere in this story. But yeah, you're right. Those are 100% the things that people are going to trot out to try to defend this shit. You either hate Chinese people or you hate Muslims. That's your choices. That's your trolley problem that you got to solve. We're already hating on the Chinese back in the 19th century. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's not like this is something that just now happened because of China threatening the United States' unipolarity. But like, god damn, this is just... The FBI director publicly said they view China not just as a whole of government threat, but a whole of society threat. Let's see if this is... Yeah. Chinese, here we go. Here it's the same fucking thing that they said about Japan in World War II. Chinese spies are spreading throughout the United States as part of a whole of society threat, FBI Director Christopher Wray told lawmakers Tuesday. Which, by the way, all countries spy on each other. That's just part of statecraft now. Like, especially after the Cold War, everybody spies on everybody. That's like a normal thing. To point at one country and say, you are spying on us, as if that's like some special circumstance, is ridiculous. Everybody spies. It's just part of how they do things now. This whole narrative is a big thing in American STEM universities. I bet it is. I bet it is. Man, there's also a lot of like bullshit that people are like mad about how many Chinese like exchange students there are in those colleges. When I was at college, there was like a bunch of shit about like, look, it was like, you know, liberal and veiled as not just outright bigotry, but it was still bigotry, where people were like, oh, there's a lot of Chinese students at this college. Like, yeah, I've seen that firsthand. Really weird and gross. Yeah, it's also, yeah, correct. It's not illegal to spy. It's legal, it's allowed, and everybody does it. Everyone spies. It's like just the thing that everyone does now. Because if you don't do it, everybody else is going to catch up and surpass you at like spycraft and with like paying attention to technology and shit, at diplomacy. It's just how people do things now. I mean, spies have always been a thing, but like this kind of sophisticated level of espionage is a product of the 20th century, and it's not going away. All right, yeah, all right. I don't think I need to read like that's all that I needed to see was this one paragraph, like, oh, this one sentence. Like, goddamn, dude, the same shit. It's like, oh, this whole race of people is infiltrating our country with spies. We can't trust any of them. Just like and I mean, I'm worried about how far that kind of shit could go, considering what happened in World War II with Japan, or with Japanese Americans. History of racial profiling. The unjust prosecution of my father was not an isolated incident, but one of several targeting Chinese American scientists. People like Wen-Ho Lee and... Oh, wait, no, I already read that. Yeah. The director of the FBI had this comment about it's a whole of society threat requiring a whole of society response. Oh, there you go. I missed that before I went off the tangent. A whole of society response. So like, oh, it's not just an economic war. It's like a regular war. It's a culture war. It's a religious war. It's an everything. We're fighting them on all fronts. We're fighting them on all fronts because they are coming to corrupt our people. Fucking, it's like just crazy the way to, like, just you take a step back from this, like, marvel at how insane it is. Be racist against people who have yeah, be racist against the people with slanted eyes to liberate Uyghurs. I think I'm not like too up on like phenotypes of people around the world, but I would think that based on the location the people, the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, probably also have the same like epicanthal fold thing going on that is typical of people in East Asia and Southeast Asia. But I don't know. They're like in the west of China, so maybe not. But yeah, you'd be being, if you don't like that kind of eye shape, you'd be being racist against them too, possibly. They're Turkic Central Asian. Okay, so maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen enough pictures to get it. What does a Uyghur look like? I mean, that's a fucking weird thing to say, but oh yeah, so they do. It's like, well, no, that picture looks like, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of variation in these pictures I pulled up. Huh. I mean, Xinjiang's pretty big, so I don't know how far. Like, there's Uyghurs like in Turkey too, right? So they're like all over the place. Isn't China real complicated on this? Like, it's all more cultural to speak. What do you mean, like with regard to espionage or what? Like, China does things very differently from the US in a lot of respects. One of the things about them is that they've got like, yeah, they're across the Middle East because of jihads, right, to racial stuff. Oh yeah, like this is a thing, is that people, when you talk about like race and racism, you have to keep in mind that like a lot of these ideas about those things come out of the West and are like particular to the location. They don't really apply to the way that people look at different ethnic groups in other parts of the world. So like, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some, you know, ethnic animosity that exists in like China. It's a huge population. It's very diverse, but it's not the same. And you can't, like, if you were to look at China from the perspective of the United States, basically you're just looking at like a monolith of like, yeah, there's a bunch of Chinese people. That's about as far as the US view of ethnicity goes for that part of the world. But yeah, there's like tons and tons of different groups there, and there are like tensions that exist, but it's not the, you can't just like, you know, look at the way that the US treats ethnicities and all that stuff and then assume that it's going to be similar. Like, yeah, you don't want to project onto a different culture the things that you see in your own culture. But yeah, it's to just like look at what's happening in Xinjiang or Tibet or wherever else and say like, oh yeah, that's like equivalent to what's happening in the West, is to just be like lazy and not attempt to understand what's going on there. Although unfortunately it's hard to get good information about anything happening in China or lots of other places because they come from, the information you tend to get comes from biased sources. So it's something that people should just be like real careful about, instead of jumping to conclusions based on their own personal experience or, you know, the things that they're more familiar with in their own context, which is very different from the situation that they're talking about. But if people do have a tendency to project their own experiences, and propaganda makes very good use of that. So it's like, I've seen stuff where people say like, oh, well, you support like Black Lives Matter, but you don't support the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, as if it's like just the same thing. It's like, you don't be doing that. That's lazy bullshit. It's a entirely different situation. It might be bad, it might be really bad, but it's not like, you can't just say, oh, it's the same dynamic. You have to look at the situation and appraise it according to what it is there, because the different things are different in different places. And that's not like Orientalism to say, oh, it's so different in China. No, it's just like different places have different cultures, and there's, you know, different tensions and dynamics everywhere. Yeah, trying to transplant American racial politics, exactly. Yeah, even trying to do that to Europe is fucking weird, because it's not the same. They're different. Yeah, there's no BLM protests in China. Do you really feel the need to defend them? Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. That's kind of how those conversations tend to go. All right. History of racial profiling. All right. So yeah. So not only was the FBI director Christopher Wray saying China is not just a whole of government threat, but a whole of society threat, he says that they require a whole of society response. So like total war. Yeah, I know that it's a problematic thing to say. What Uyghur people tend to look like. Oh, that's a nice picture. Who is this? You said Gulnazar Bekstiyar. Okay, here's a person from the Uyghur population, allegedly. In Cosmopolitan, I guess maybe they were doing something about China. She's an actor. Yeah, I would imagine either an actor or a model with a face like that. Yeah, but yeah, from what the pictures I looked up, it seems like a very diverse group of people, and there are plenty of people who, to me, I would assume that the average American wouldn't be able to tell from like Han Chinese, because like there isn't that much of a difference, and Americans especially are really bad at telling the difference between groups of people. Anyway, we got on that from like a whole jokey thing about Americans declaring that you must be racist against this one group to not be racist against the other. All right. Yeah, so they want a whole of society response to China. Trump's Justice Department launched the China Initiative in 2018 to target those supposed spies. Many individuals and families have already been impacted. The Biden administration has continued this initiative despite civil rights groups' calls to end it. Let me see real quick which civil rights groups have called to end it. Advancing Justice, Brennan Center for Justice, APA Justice. Asian Americans Advancing Justice. Okay, so that looks like the big groups that are asking for it. I mean, he's not going to do shit. And that was actually January 5th, so before he was inaugurated. Yeah, he's not going to do shit. Listen, man, China is sending so many, all these spies, and we got to stop them. We're not going to have apple pie. We're not going to have baseball because the Chinese they're going to take away all of the baseball. There's Uyghur detainees at Guantanamo Bay. I'm not surprised. There's lots of people at Guantanamo Bay. And yeah, it's like Uyghurs are Muslim, so generally, I mean, not all. It's an ethnicity, so they're not going to uniformly be Muslim. But yeah, not really surprising. Maybe the United States should free the detainees at Guantanamo Bay before they talk about China and how they treat Uyghurs. Yeah. All right, so the Biden administration is not going to do shit. Beijing's oppression. Why is Chinese leader Xi Jinping so afraid of Hong Kong and Jimmy Laos? That's some other article from The Guardian. While there are legitimate concerns regarding the Chinese government, there is a major human cost to casting suspicion on entire communities based on national origin. Okay, let me just, for really quick, while there are legitimate concerns regarding the Chinese government, there is a major human cost to casting suspicion on entire communities based on national origin. So, like, racism. There are major human costs to racism. Racism is what this is. Like, what the fuck? The FBI's record of racial, ethnic, and religious profiling has left a devastating trail, including in Muslim, Black, and Indigenous communities. As anti-Asian, particularly anti-China sentiment and bias continue to grow, I fear the U.S. government will cause many more people to experience what my family did, especially if there's no opportunity to challenge the government's wrongdoing in court. Yeah. And Joyce, she is what was his name? Xiaoxing Shi, his daughter, Joyce Shi. The government's scapegoating of people like my father is part of a broader history of anti-Asian violence and xenophobia. Asian communities in America have long been viewed as perpetual foreigners and national security threats dating to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 and the Immigration Act of 1917, which barred people from China and Asia Pacific region from immigrating to the United States for decades. Yeah. During World War II, the government infamously incarcerated 112,000 Japanese Americans in the name of national security. The United States has promoted wars and militarization in places like the Philippines, Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and have dehumanized Asian peoples in the public imagination, and that have... Wait, what? And that has promoted wars that have killed, traumatized, and displaced many. Yeah. It's another playground for the United States to just fucking do mass murder. Gitmo is a Gitmo is a Pokemon kind of deal. Yeah. Anybody who's a potential what do you call it? Not a threat, but like from a group of people who doesn't like the US, which is, you know, everybody. Code is done. Oh, are you coding something? Now the U.S. government is supporting Southeast Asian refugees who fled these wars. After 9/11, law enforcement vastly expanded surveillance, harassment, and criminalization of Muslim, Arab, and South Asian communities, discriminating against them in the name of national security. And when COVID-19 hit, Trump resorted to blatant racism, calling it the China virus and Kung flu. Against this backdrop, countless Asians in America have been subject to violence and vitriol. The recent anti-Asian attacks have various causes, but with the government's own xenophobic actions and rhetoric, it is no surprise these assaults on our communities have become widespread. Like many, I worry for myself, friends, and family amidst these hyper-visible attacks, but I take no comfort in the federal government saying it will protect Asian Americans by increasing the power of the very agencies that helped create conditions for violence. To meaningfully address anti-Asian violence, the U.S. government must end its own racist policies and account for past wrongdoing. And my family will be appealing the court's dismissal of our claims. We will continue to fight to end racialized targeting of our communities. Joyce Shi is the daughter of Xiaoxing Shi, a Chinese-American scientist who was wrongfully prosecuted by the U.S. government. Yeah, that's fucking wild. It's fucking wild. All right, hey, I finally got to Anon's news. And there's some good stuff here for the first few articles. Some labor stuff going on. Easier than I thought it was going to be. Well, I'm glad. Coding is often harder than you expect it to be. All right, where is this? Renault workers in France. Angry Renault workers take bosses hostage for 12 hours in bid to block factory sale. So this is from Anon. Let me see. I put in a song request for what's a good French revolutionary song? Shit. Fuck, I'm totally blanking right now. Fuck it. French Revolution. It picked up something that was too long. Shit. Let's I forget that I've got the Nightbot thing set up so I can do queue up song requests. Let's see. All right, here's another picture. So this is another example of some Uyghurs. Who is that a picture of? A song. All right, thank you for the link. Anybody can do song requests if they type in Twitch chat. Let's see. Alright, it'll play in the background while I read. Or you can also just type them into. You can type them into the chat here, and I'll do it manually. But you can also do it without my input in Twitch directly. For some reason, it's got a maximum of 10 minutes, and I can't control that. But otherwise, you can queue up songs as you please. This one is Revocol Renault Session Contrabando Underground. This is still pretty nice nice sounding. Alright, so workers at a Renault car parts factory in northwest France have barred 7 company executives from leaving the plant in a desperate boss snapping attempt, hoping to disrupt the car manufacturer's plans to sell the facility. Around 350 employees picketing Renault's Fonderie de Bretagne. Fuck, I can never get the GN thing right. Factory in Brittany held 7 managers hostage on Tuesday as they prevented them from leaving work. The incident comes after the automaker announced plans to sell or close the facility. Following several attempts to convince the workers to release their hostages, the executives were let out around 10:30 local time. Though the blockade of the factory continued into Wednesday. So they released them the same day? Yeah, 12 hours. But what day was that? Tuesday. Okay. So it continued for another day after that. The car manufacturer rebuked the workers in a brief statement which also called for dialogue and calm. Yeah, so... See, as soon as people start taking any sort of direct action, it's like, what we need right now is we need dialogue. Please stop doing things and just start talking. We don't like it when people do things. When people realize that they like have actual power if they just go do things directly. The quote was, Renault Group strongly condemns these actions and calls for the lifting of the blockade and an immediate return to calm. Brittany is France. Okay, it's time for a map. I always forget to put map on my image searches when I'm looking for maps. There we go. That's what I need. So this is Bretagne, or Brittany's, up here in France. What did they say that Renault, is that in, I can't read, the fucking text is too small. Let me see, I think that might be it. No, that's a different place. Find where Renault is on this. Maybe this one's got it. I don't see, nope, I don't see it on there either. I gotta look up Renault France map. Guess I could look at Google Maps, but I don't want to do that. Yeah, fucking not seeing it. Alright, whatever. It's in that little projecting peninsula up in northwestern France. Wait, no, Renault is the company. Wait, where's the Fondier de Bretagne factory in Brittany? Oh, okay, so it's Britain. I'm a fucking dumbass. It's not Renault's not the city, it's the company. They said it's in Fonderie de Bretagne. That's at least that's the. Well, I couldn't find the location of it, but it's in that area of France. Where's the... Alright, so I read the quote. Renault tried to appease the disgruntled employees, saying it was searching for a buyer who would maintain the site's activities and ensure the workers keep their jobs. However, that did little for the workers at the General Confederation of Labor, CGT, a trade union, who insisted the company did not want to negotiate despite its pleas to the contrary. They still don't want to have a dialogue, so it was pointless trying to talk to people who don't want to engage, CGT Representative Maël Legoff told AFP, explaining why the workers eventually released the captive executives. Oh, so we all just kidnapping you because we want to talk. CGT. Oh, is this, so this is a map. Maybe. Open street map. Alright, cool. Let's just zoom in. Alright, well, you linked me to a map that's showing the region, but not seeing the city. The city was... I think that's the city. One of the foundry city in Codon, France. That's it. Codon. That's the city. Okay. Codon, France. I just searched for it because I'm not seeing it. Codon, France. Okay, so that's like southwest east. Oh, hold on, I can pull up the. So it's like Brittany is here, and Codon is like. Wait, hold on. It's like a small spot. It's near Lanester and Hennebont. It's like right around like this little spot here, which is like a port kind of area, probably. It's the nearest like port area would be Lorient, France. Alright. Where was? Oh, it's going to my auto queue now. Anybody has more songs, you can post them in Twitch or the SciTube chat, and I'll add them myself. You just gotta type !SR and then the name of the song or the link, and it'll queue it up. Yeah, so, where were we? So they released the executive because they didn't want to talk. It does not smell good for us. No discussion was possible with the management, Legoff told the local news outlet, adding that the trade union had heard very alarming comments about potential job cuts and layoffs at the site. We would like to ask them what will become of us if we are sold, if we are made redundant. We have been waiting for a year. We no longer have much hope. The trade union is currently planning a protest in this town of Hennebont in Brittany on May 1st, and a meeting with the president of the Regional Council of Brittany, Loïc Chenet-Girard. The Tuesday incident is not the country's first case of boss snapping. Back in 2014, workers at a Goodyear tire factory in northern France detained 2 executives for more than 12 days in an attempt to prevent the facility's closure. The practice was apparently so common during the tenure of ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy that he threatened to grant police extra powers to stop it by force. Damn. France is like fucking serious with that shit. Alright, this is... Okay, here's the map. Alright. Alright, thanks for going as far as to give me like the exact coordinates. So, this is OpenStreetMap. Alright, so here is like, I think this is the actual, it's the actual factory. Yeah. So here's, and Hennebon is where they were talking about doing the organizing. This is the Brittany part of France, and then there's Europe. So, shit, I zoomed into the wrong place. Yeah, so Codan and Hennebo. Thank you. All right. Oh, here's another story about they grabbed these song requests. Here's another story coming up here about what do you call it? Labor action. That was something about France, but we're past France. We're on to this is the Amazon vote. Union evidence in Amazon vote could be grounds for overturning election, U.S. Labor Board says. So if you don't remember the story, there was that whole thing about in Alabama there were some Amazon workers voting to unionize or not, and the vote failed. They failed to unionize. They didn't get enough votes, even though they got enough petition signatures to get the election in the first place. That they should have had enough votes to win the election. So there was a lot of fishy stuff going on there. But now apparently they got evidence that something was rigged. So here we go. And this is during the vote happening. Banners are placed at the Amazon facilities. Members of the congressional delegation arrived to show their support for workers who will vote on whether to unionize in Bessemer, Alabama on March 5th, 2021. Evidence submitted by a retail union that raised objections to Amazon.com Inc.'s conduct at this month's union election in Alabama could be grounds for overturning the vote. The National Labor Relations Board said on Wednesday. The Labor Board has overturned several union elections over the years. In 2016, the board overturned an election the United Steelworks Union lost by a decisive vote. The decision criticized by large U.S. business lobbies, I bet. All right, so there's also what do you call it? Not precedent is the word I was looking for. Precedent for this happening potentially. The NLRB will hold a hearing on May 7th to consider objections filed by the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, RWDSU, which failed to secure enough votes for Amazon warehouse workers to form a union. The vote count announced on April 9th showed that workers at Amazon's Bessemer, Alabama warehouse rejected the union by a more than 2-to-1 margin. Allegedly. That's at least what the count said. The evidence submitted by the union in support of its objections could be grounds for overturning the election if introduced at a hearing, the Labor Board said. The RWDSU submitted nearly 24 objections to Amazon's conduct during the election, which said prevented employees from a free and uncoerced exercise of choice on whether to create the company's first U.S. union. The RWDSU alleged that Amazon's agents unlawfully threatened employees with closure of the warehouse if they joined the union, and that the company emailed a warning they would lay off 75% of the proposed bargaining unit because of the union. Amazon, which has denied the allegations, did not respond to requests for comment. Of course not. For much of its history, the NLRB used its decision-making authority to change labor policy by establishing new precedents. The board has repeatedly overturned cases decided by prior administrations. Under the Trump administration, it overturned cases detrimental to employers, which had been decided during the preceding Obama presidency. Well, we'll see how closely the Biden administration controls all that, but they are fighting it, so maybe that story's not over yet. And I did see your music request. No, I added that. Oh, no, you, I see. Americans under 30 have rapidly turned against gun control laws, poll finds. 50% of Americans overall say they view the enacting of new anti-gun violence laws and firearm restrictions as a top legislative priority, but among young Americans under 30, there was a 20% drop in support since 2018. That means 20 absolute percentage points, not a 20% drop of the total amount not a 20%, like a percentage of the number of people in total. It was a drop in the percentage points overall. What's cringe? Since 2018, there was the drop. And a new ABC News Washington Post poll released Tuesday from among more than 1,000 U.S. adults found that Americans overall are less supportive of new gun control legislations than they were just 3 years ago. People between the ages of 18 to 29 saw the sharpest decline in backing for new weapons laws, with fewer than half now saying new legislation is needed to reduce the risk of future mass shootings or to block red flag buyers. In April 2018, the last time the ABC Washington Post survey was conducted on this issue, 65% of the young Americans said they support gun control laws. The percentage is now 45%. Massive ideological divides have remained between Democrats and Republicans, with 3/4 of Republicans saying they prioritize the protection of their right to own firearms. And on the other end of the spectrum, 83% of Democrats and self-identified liberals say they want President Joe Biden to prioritize more gun control laws. The preference for enacting new gun laws aimed at reducing firearm violence has dropped by 7% overall since the last corresponding survey was conducted in April 2018. Percentage drops were seen in nearly every demographic divide. In that time period, 20% of Hispanics pulled back from supporting new gun laws, falling to 50%. 17% of rural Americans now said they want no new gun restrictions, down 17 points to 30%. The percentage of strong conservatives who said they would get behind new gun laws also fell to nearly single digits, down 17 points in the 3 years since the last survey. 47% of Democrats in the poll said Biden is not doing enough to promote new firearm legislation, along 52% of liberals. Conversely, about 6 in 10 Republicans said they want Biden to prioritize their right to own a gun. Fewer than 1/3 of Americans overall said they think Biden is doing the right amount on the issue of gun laws. Americans under 30 have rapidly turned against gun control laws. What's cringe about it? When I was growing up, I think people were pro-gun control in the U.S., especially younger, more lefty people. Yeah, it was it used to be most. In 2018, it was 65% of people wanted more gun control laws, and now it's down to 45% who do. That was the 20% drop, 65 to 45. So it dropped from a clear majority, almost 2/3, to a minority. A slight minority. But, I mean, the thing about, there might be, like, effective gun control laws that would, potentially reduce violence, but, like, generally speaking, none of the stuff that gets recommended in the U.S. is gonna do anything. A lot of lefties in this country don't own guns for some odd reason, like most gun owners in the center. Or right. There's lots of liberal gun owners in the U.S., and as the poll is indicating, it's growing as a common thing. I think that there is a shift because people are seeing that, like, especially certain groups of people tend to be, like, very, precarious in terms of their, like, just being under threat of violence, and having a gun is at least a deterrent, if not actually useful for self-defense. Like, even if you're gonna end up probably dead if you try to defend yourself from, say, police violence, having a gun makes it much more of a deterrent for anybody to mess with you. Like, police don't patrol areas where they know there are a lot of guns because they're cowards. most of the people with guns are the ones that have like many guns with lots of money. Yeah, that's true. It's like there's a gun, it's at least one gun per person in the US, but most guns are in the hands of collectors who have a bunch. Like, I know I have a family member who's got like a bunch of old Civil War era guns that are just like an antique collection basically. But like those kind of situations boost the numbers a lot. It skews the average. But yeah, no, I misread it at first in my head, which is why I was a little bit slower reading the title. But yeah, it was 65% of people 65% of people who wanted new gun control laws down to 45% in 3 years. It's a huge drop. Shocking. It's a shockingly huge drop. Yeah, they know the next 10 years are going to be critical in determining the century. I think that's true. Is it a sign of rising tensions politically? Yes. I don't mean Dems versus... Yes, it is. More radical groups, definitely. And I think more people are seeing how things are deteriorating and that they can't rely on the police or any other official institutions to handle things. And when that's the case, like, yeah, the whole point of the state in that sense is to be like the monopoly of violence. And when they fail their task at doing the violence that you want them to do, what else is left but for other people to take care of it? Whether that's like every individual or like it's a militia organization or whatever. But yeah, it's like same what now? Same, yeah. It's more people getting guns to feel safe. Let me add some. Yeah. Well, you say buy guns. I would say obtain guns. Whether it's buying or trading or other methods, obtain guns if you don't have them. It's gonna be important probably. 3D print them. You can maybe 3D print some components of guns, but yeah. Don't be careful what you say. I'll make a point not to say anything that's a crime to say on Twitch, because I would get banned and possibly prosecuted. But there's things that you can't say because it's illegal to, for instance, promote committing a crime. It's incitement, which is itself a crime. 4D print guns. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. Definitely. I have a time gun. When you shoot somebody with it, they travel back in time. They revert back to being a fetus. Yeah. So yeah, this is like a very surprising and rapid shift, as I would put it, from almost 2/3 to under half. Young people are now saying, like, okay, maybe we do want people to have guns. Rural adults across the country are twice as likely as urban or suburban Americans to favor the protection of the right to bear arms, which is like a reason for that is that the U.S. has lots of rural areas where it takes like an hour or more for the cops to arrive if something goes down. So it's like super important that you have the ability to defend yourself, because otherwise you're just dead if somebody comes across it, wants to cause trouble, wants to shoot you or something. Like, you're on your own in lots of the US, so people are making LMGs with 80% of 4D printed parts. Yeah, most people in Europe who own guns are rural. Yep. Well, it's also harder to police things like gun ownership in rural areas. So, oh, good. Here's a good picture. This is a good one. See if I can, me actually, full screen and screen share. That's the wrong one. I wanted to F11. This one. There we go. Alright, so here we go. Capitalists versus socialists. So we got Tricky Dicky Nixon, and we got Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, there's no reason why on the street today a citizen should be carrying loaded weapons. Ronald Reagan, who banned open carry in California. Remember? After the Black Panthers went to the City Hall with guns. They're like, oh no, we can't be having any of that. We can't have any of these people in our Capitol building with guns. We gotta take everyone's guns away. And that's when California went hard against guns. I don't know why any individual should ever have a right to have a revolver in his house. People should not have handguns. As Richard Nixon. And then Donald Trump. Take the firearms first, and then go to court. I like taking the guns early. Take the guns first, then go through due process second. It's like the opposite of shoot first, ask questions later. Alright, I don't have voices for any of the commies, though. Marx says, the whole working class must be armed. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. Lenin says, it is most urgent and essential that there be a universal arming of the people. Eugene Debs says, recollect that in arming yourselves, as you are bound to do unless you are willing to be forced into abject slavery, you are safely within the spirit and letter of the law. Which is like... that's a... oh, thanks for the compliment. I try... I feel like my Trump's not that good, but... There's a very, like, stock Nixon that I could kind of do. The Constitution clearly affirms... This is Malcolm X. The Constitution clearly affirms the right of every American citizen to bear arms, and as Americans, we will not give up a single right guaranteed under the Constitution. I mean, to say the least. Huey Newton said, and unarmed people are slaves or are subject to slavery at any moment. Mary Harris, Mother Jones, save your money, you're going to need it for guns. Read Washington's words to the colonists. He told those who were struggling for liberty against those who would not heed or hear to buy guns. So there you go. Who's anti-gun? Who's pro-gun? Let's see which, there we go. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the picture. That's a good reminder. Good reminder for people. And you're correct, Butthole. It's about who has the guns and who's getting them taken away. Back in the day, that was a big thing. Like right after the Civil War, you had lots of recently freed former slaves, freedmen, who had weapons left over from the war. There were big campaigns to go disarm those people. And only those people. Because there was lots of fear of like, oh no, they're gonna come take revenge for everything that we done to them. And that of course never happened, but lots of disarmament happened and lots of massacres the other direction happened. Oh, there you go. Is the SRA still active? I thought that they got hit by some like controversy or something. Yeah, that's the Socialist Rifle Association, which is a thing that exists. It's the correct alternative to the NRA. Which the NRA, by the way, is like also on. Yeah, this is the coup. I queued this. This is also the last thing I've got queued. If anybody wants to suggest anything else before it goes back to the 3 songs I have on the default playlist. Which I need to add to. Actually, I'm going to put this one on the default playlist. There we go. Alright, rural adults across, yeah. Fewer than a third of urban dwellers said they prioritize the right to own a gun, and just shy of half of suburban residents said they favor protection of gun rights over new laws. Newsweek reached out to the survey organizers Wednesday morning, as well as NRA for any response to the latest gun control survey. And I guess I didn't say anything. Okay. That's funny that somebody called hogwash. I'm gonna go cry in my bad pillow. Knock It Off says, makes sense considering after just a few years of getting out of school, during which time they had to be aware of the possibility of being killed by a nut with a gun, why they would disapprove gun laws. They're trying to sell nuts to squirrels with this biased article. No one but alright squirrels are willing to buy this. What? I don't even understand what they're trying to say with that comment. And then Wes says, we win, the Sissy Marys lose. What's this? What website is this? Newsweek. What a fucking what a representative sample that comment section was. Somebody who's like, yeah, I'm pro-gun, I love my guns, pew pew, bang bang. Somebody's like, I'm gonna go cry into my pillow. And then somebody with a totally incoherent response. They sell KKK range targets at the SRA, that's pretty good. It's like there's that meme that was going around years ago, probably still, where it's like, why do you need a 30-round magazine? And it shows a picture of like a lynching, and it's got like all of the white people standing around the dead black guy at the lynching, and they've got like a number over their head from 1 to 30. Like, this is why you have a 30-round magazine. That was a thing. I saw that like a few years ago. As be crawling with glowies, definitely. I think that they got hit with some kind of like Me Too type of controversy a while back. Selling you back anti-fascism. I mean, they have to raise money somehow. And that's like a functional kind of thing. It's not like just selling you a button or something. It's actually, because like the way that targets work, where you have to get new ones because you shoot them full of holes. That's a pretty smart thing to sell to raise money. And I mean, if you're gonna sell people targets, you might as well sell them something that's like branded and appropriate like that. But I see what you're saying. I think that they do more than just sell things, though. It's not like AOC selling people t-shirts that say Medicare for all and then doing everything possible to stop the policy from being implemented. And there's some nuance to the whole thing of like selling products like that. You can also get people to print and give out the target. Well, you could, but again, you do have to raise money somehow. Like, you have people who are doing like newspapers and stuff. Like, you got to have some method for that. I always feel weird about radical selling things. Don't. That's like bourgeois mentality. It's trying to get you to be like, oh, you oppose capitalism and yet you sell things. That's very interesting. Don't fall for that. That's a trap. Alright, yeah, so here's another story out of Israel. It's like weird. Israel's Iron Dome causing cancer among soldiers, report claims. Money won't disappear in socialism. Well, it'll take a while for the law of value to no longer hold, for sure. Yeah, there you go. Let me see. Turn off browser so I don't spoil the surprise. He doesn't like a pistol to his head. He wants no servant under him. Yeah, so here's the target that they sell. And then here it is after it's being used. There you go. Probably a decent fundraising strategy. Yeah, let's not get into a really in-depth conversation about like what is money and what is capital, but it's complicated, and there's like a lot of theoretical points on this. Well, like I don't want to get into like theory kind of 101 stuff right now, because like what is money versus like tracking value are two different things, and productive forces and stuff, whether or not it's capital and how you define it, like all that kind of stuff is squirrely, and it depends on the specific system you're implementing to a large degree. But let's talk about the news instead. No, that's a pretty good target because it's got the concentric circles that measure like the deviation from where you're trying to aim, and it gives you something to look at that is like, you know, according to what you actually are going to be kind of shooting. Israel's Iron Dome causing cancer among soldiers, report claims. Soldiers say working in the Iron Dome had exposed them to radiation, with some filing lawsuits against the defense ministry. Yeah, I know, capitalists selling rope and all that, exactly. A group of Israeli soldiers claimed that their military service at the anti-missile Iron Dome defense system has given them cancer, according to an investigative report by Yedioth Aharonot. At least 10 Israeli soldiers in their 20s and 30s said at the end of their military service or after they were discharged that they had developed cancer after their stint with the Iron Dome unit. They called the Iron Dome, which intercepts short-range missiles, the toaster. They called it the toaster. When you're near a radar, you're literally feeling your body boiling from the inside. Jesus Christ. People in their 20s and 30s, you're literally feeling your body boiling from the inside out. If you try to imagine what happens to food when it's in the microwave, it's like that. And that's not wrong. That's like physically what it is that's happening, that the radiation is exciting the particles inside of you and heating them up. Jesus. And radio waves are dangerous in at high levels, at high amplitudes. Despite what you might like, the amount that you would get from like just ambient radio signals is fine, but like if you're at a radio station near the signal's being generated, it is dangerous. It is bad for you, and you can get seriously hurt. So this isn't really like a surprising thing, and it's something that people know about and they should have accounted for. There's a lot of military equipment cause cancer. I mean, some of it intentionally, even like depleted uranium is being shelled all over the place. It causes cancer, causes birth defects. It makes areas basically like uninhabitable, other than people just being desperate enough that quality of life isn't going to stop them. Gunships doing it, causing cancer because of metals. Yeah, I don't doubt it. There's like all kinds of shit that's like extremely, and you know, military healthcare is like often really shitty. I don't know what Israel's situation is exactly, but which, I mean, they conscript everybody, so I don't know how that fits into the. I think they have universal healthcare though, but the U.S. is like, the U.S. just doesn't give a fuck. I know that much. Yeah, that's right. The U.S. bombed Iraq for 20 years with depleted uranium. There's like horrible cancer rates, birth defects. It's like just horrible. So, bomb Iraq for 20 years with uranium, sell them cancer treatments for 40 years. I mean, assuming that they do. I don't know if they will. It seems to be like largely being ignored. Let's see. That's not the right one. Nope. Thought I had shit. Whatever. Somebody else recommend a song. I'm trying to focus on this right now. Can't wait to buy my Iron Dome. Cooks Israelis in 10 minutes tops. Yeah, I know, right? This is like wild. I wonder how many people are affected by this. Like how many people are on circulation at this location. Because like this could be like really bad long run from a strategic perspective even. Yeah. Hamovich, 31, had worked on the Iron Dome after almost 2 years of service in the Air Force. At the age of 22, doctors discovered he had a tumor. 22? So, like, he spent a couple years here, and he's got a tumor that they found. This is, like, extremely dangerous. This gets the Iron Dome shut. I'll laugh so hard. Yeah. How expensive? I don't remember how expensive it was. The article might say a ball in the neck the size of a ping pong ball sat on the main artery and actually caused my blood flow to stop. I underwent chemotherapy and radiation, Hamovich told Yedioth Aharonoth. Some soldiers have already filed lawsuits against Israel's Ministry of Defense. The Israeli army has denied any connection between their service at the Iron Dome and contracting cancer. In 2011, 240 Israeli soldiers started their service at the Iron Dome. 6 of them got cancer after their release or at the end of their service, according to Yedioth Aharonoth's report, the full version of which will be published on Friday. But that's 6 out of 240, but that's only within, like, that short window. It's very likely that a bunch more are going to find out they've got cancer later on. Because of, like, cancer is one of those things that it can be, like, slow burn. So it's very likely that they started getting the cancer, but it's not going to get bad enough for them to notice it for a while. How far a radius would it affect you? Like, I don't know. It depends. It depends on how strong. Like, what matters is the strength of the radio waves. Like, some sources are stronger than others. So, like, how far you would have to be safe would vary a lot. I don't know about the Iron Dome specifically. It costs $50 million per battery of missiles currently. It has cost over $1 billion to develop, apparently. Wow. Spend $1 billion to develop, and then $50 million per battery to maintain. And it gives your soldiers cancer. Common morbidity. The Iron Dome was developed by the defense company Rafael. It is mainly deployed in Israel to fire and intercept missiles and rockets launched from the Gaza Strip towards Israeli settlements, but it's also deployed at the borders with Lebanon and Syria, at the occupied Golan Heights in the north. Ron Mazur, an Israeli soldier who developed bone cancer, said, God, bone cancer is a really bad kind, said that the army ignored him when he complained about pains in his body. At the unit, they called me the whiner, Mazur said. A year on from his release from Iron Dome service, Mazur was diagnosed with cancer. Meanwhile, it's probably also sterilizing everybody, too. Meanwhile, Shir Tahar said that during her time at the Iron Dome, she did not have adequate protective gear. We never protected with radiation equipment, Yedioth Aharonoth quoted her as saying. 10 months after her service ended, she started suffering from pain in her lower back and legs and was diagnosed with leukemia. So, like, it doesn't just give you cancer, it gives you really bad cancers. Livna Levy told the paper that her daughter, Omar Healy Levy, was diagnosed with cancer within 8 months of her release from the army and died 2 years later. We did not believe it. We have no history of cancer in the family. I remember going to visit her at the base and asking her, isn't it dangerous that you're so close to the radars? It seems too exposed to me, Levy said. The Israeli army said in a statement that its medical staff had conducted an in-depth investigation and concluded that the types of morbidity found were common among the characteristics of the population examined. Bullshit. God, so, like, just... You know, I wonder how many missiles the Iron Dome actually stopped ever. And then, like, compare that to the number of people who get cancer from this. Incredible. The report calculates U.S. investments in Iron Dome production since fiscal year 2011 will be over $1 billion. That's what they paid. This is what they paid for. The U.S. invested in this project that is killing Israelis. Genius. Even the puppet of Israel is not as spared from... Even the puppet of Israel is not spared from the U.S.'s death. I think he might have. Yeah, it's not Yeah, no, right. What's the return? I guess it's supposed to be like, Israel creates a foothold of influence for the U.S. That's about it. But like, I don't know, on paper, what it's we're having like the one democracy in the Middle East is what they say about Israel. So like that's ostensibly what the investment's supposed to be. That's a good create an ethno-state just to self-sterilize. Yes, exactly. This is just like, and I'm sure that the people who, I bet like all of the people who served there are sterile now. Come on. Surely somebody's already archived this one. Did it work? No, I didn't click it. Alright. Mass cremations as India faces a tsunami of COVID-19 deaths. So here we go with more COVID. Yeah, Gaza's a weapons testing ground. Yeah. That's true, yeah. The US is like giving Israel a bunch of weapons to test it out and see how it works so that they can go use it somewhere else to kill people. Alright, so this is from India. It's CNBC? NBC News. Jeet has pledged to care for all the dead as if they were his own family, performing traditional, if abbreviated, funeral rites at a makeshift crematorium in India's capital. Sometimes the devastation overwhelms him. This happened on a recent morning when he wept alongside a woman as he stood next to the funeral pyre of her husband and their young son. The father and son both died of COVID-19. It's a moment that will haunt me forever, Jeet, 27, told NBC News over the phone from Simapuri Crematorium, a temporary facility set up to deal with the tsunami of COVID-19 deaths in New Delhi. People die in front of our eyes every day. These are people who should have been saved. See. No. And India is right now having a really bad time with COVID. It's just like spiking horribly. Jeet is the chairperson of the Shahid Bhagat Singh Sewa Dal SBS Foundation, a Sikh non-governmental organization that has provided medical services to underprivileged people in the country for more than 25 years. It also offers free cremations for the poor and homeless. I really need to add more songs to my rotation. Let's see. This is another cue. What's Israel killed 3,000 Palestinian children since 2000. Sounds about right. Oh, thank you. Put that in. Yeah, anybody's got like songs they want to, you can also tell me like the name of a song and it'll search and bring up the first result. You don't have to find the exact link. Yeah, right. That's the dead 3,000. And then what's the wounded and so on casualties look like? We probably don't even have like decent numbers on that. I mean, like, it's so casually done. And they like drop bombs and shit on kids over there. Lately, Jeet has been volunteering his time to help cremate those who have died from COVID-19. The foundation began these efforts in September during the peak of the country's first pandemic wave. Then the organization cremated about 10 bodies a day. Now in the throes of the devastating second wave, it's conducting more than 120 cremations daily, he said. While there are no official figures to demonstrate how many bodies have been cremated across the country, photos and video of smoldering funeral pyres in India's makeshift crematoriums have come to symbolize the country's COVID-19 crisis. Parking lots in New Delhi are now also being converted to accommodate the rising number of bodies. Alright, add this song. It's not just India's crematoriums that are overwhelmed. New Delhi's main Muslim graveyard for victims of COVID-19 is also running out of space, resulting in some Muslims having to cremate their loved ones. And if you're not aware, in Islam, you're supposed to bury, like, the way it's supposed to work is that you bury somebody's body whole. Like, cremation is, like, you're not supposed to do that. In Islam. Nearly 80% of India's population is Hindu, according to the most recent census, about 14% Muslim and just over 2% Christian. Hindus are usually cremated, while Muslims and Christians traditionally opt for burials. Other religions, including Sikhism, Jainism, and Buddhism, account for about 4% of the population and have a variety of funeral rites. With more than 200,000 officially dead from the virus, many experts say the real number is probably much higher. COVID-19 has upended these ancient end-of-life traditions for many.
If you wanna live, I beg you treat me good.
The recent surge has brought panic and pain to millions across the nation as they frantically try to navigate the country's collapsing health system. Thousands are taking to social media for help in a bid to secure a vacant hospital bed, a supply of oxygen for the antiviral medication remdesivir. Many in desperation are begging doctors to let their loved ones sleep on hospital floors. Several senior volunteers in this group tested positive during the most recent wave, according to Jeet. He has, as a result, had to rely on other members of the public to help with the cremations. Volunteer cremators. Volunteer cremators. 95% of children. What's that a quote from? 95% of children were tortured and assaulted during their detention. Which detention are you talking about? I'm looking for context in the chat, but I don't see it. Source. Watching street interviews with Israelis makes your blood boil. Yeah, there was that one video from Empire Files where Abby Martin's going around asking a bunch of random people on the street in Israel. Right, I figured it was Palestinian children, but it said during detention. But it's like, you mean in custody, for what? So, this is a Middle East Monitor report. Israel killed 3,000 Palestinian children since 2000. Israel's killed more than, and this is Israeli forces arresting a Palestinian child on November 22nd, 2012. Israel's killed more than 3,000 children since September 28, 2000, when the Second Intifada began, until the end of April 2017, and the report is found. So that's not even a current figure. That's outdated by 4 years. The Palestinian Ministry of Information sent a report released ahead of Children's Day that the Israeli forces have injured more than 13,000 children and arrested more than 12,000 others. Just arresting children, dude. Continues to hold 300 children in its prisons. The report published yesterday said that 95% of children were tortured and assaulted during their detention. Yeah. On average, the report said Israeli forces arrest nearly 700 children annually, but this has increased since the start of the Jerusalem Intifada on October 2015. Nearly 2,000 children were arrested between October 2015 and November 2016. The report noted that school students are subjected to violations at the Israeli military checkpoints at the entrances to Palestinian cities, villages, and refugee camps, warning that the Israeli policies establish a dangerous economic situation in the northern Jordan Valley and force Palestinian children to drop out of school. The children faced a problem of widespread poverty because of the deteriorating economic situation and the ongoing blockade, especially in the Gaza Strip, forcing many of them to leave their schools and move to the labor market. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Labor's latest report, there are 102,000 Palestinian children under the age of 18 currently in the labor market, compared to with 65,000 in 2011. Shit's so bad there that kids are being forced into labor, child labor. Up to 20,000 Palestinian workers were employed in Israeli agricultural settlements, including 5.5% of children aged 13 to 16 years who earn a wage equivalent to 1/3 of the Israeli minimum wage. That's rough. Abby got kicked out of Israel for the video where she was interviewing people. That's... wow. I'm not surprised, but... I wonder how selective she had to be to edit that video, though. I'm sure that there's people in Israel who were like everybody she showed in that video was saying just horrific shit, but I wonder if, like, how many people didn't say something horrible, or even said something that was pretty okay. But, yeah, it's pretty scary, like, how easily you can find somebody on the street and just openly in public say that while they know that they're being recorded. It's pretty shocking. Yeah, I don't know. It's very... the thing is, when you have that kind of speech normalized and supported, a lot more people are willing to just say horrible shit. Yeah. Oh, this Urdu Hindi version of the International is a little bit late, but yeah, I think the IDF indoctrinates them a ton. Oh yeah, definitely, and everybody has to go into the IDF. So, I mean, it's a very effective way of getting a huge amount of uniformity of thought. It's everything in that situation is really fucked up. Only 32% of Israeli Jews believe in Israeli Arabs are citizens with equal rights. Well, I mean, that's kind of like they're not like considered equal, like in pragmatic terms. So it's not that that's wrong. But, like, I get that it's saying that that the people polled are saying that they don't think that they should be considered equal. But, like, that's not wrong right now, but it's not a good thing. But, yeah. Bolsonaro blamed for acting against the life of Brazilians. Yeah, like, there's a thing in Israel with, like, Beta Israel, Ethiopian Jews, who are, like, getting mistreated. And they're, like, also, like, fucking people who were Jews, people native to Palestine before the formation of Israel. You know, like, there were already, like, people, like, I guess indigenous sort of Jewish people in the area. But like what happened was all the people from Europe moved in and said like, all right, this is our place now. Like, I mean, it's not even like Jewish supremacy or whatever. It's just white supremacy. They're using like Jewish identity as cover. All right. Bolsonaro. Yeah, it's true. European white, and not just European white nationalists. In the United States, they love Israel. The white nationalists. Oh, this is the. Yeah, I remember this was on that one video. Bolsonaro blamed for acting against the life of Brazilians. How long is this one? Oh, this is a short one. Brasilia, April 28th. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was taken against some actions against Brazilians' life and health by discarding the necessary information required to import Sputnik 5 vaccine. Congressman and former Health Minister Alexandre Padilha complained. He addressed an extended public hearing, which, while discussing impasses governors of the Northeast and the federal government have faced in acquiring this vaccine. Such debate came a day after the national. Fuck. There we go. The National Health Service Agency, Anvisa, put off Sputnik 5 import requests due to alleged lack of documentation certifying efficacy and safety. In this regard, Padilla said that Anvisa technicians made a decision based solely on information provided to them. However, he wondered why didn't Anvisa have all information on vaccines? Why didn't Bolsonaro provide access to this information? For Padilla, the Brazilian president is accountable for this issue. It is a federal government obligation to facilitate all kinds of international cooperation for populations' access to the vaccine. He later recalled that last year, Sputnik 5 was offered to the Brazilian government, and Bolsonaro's position on the issue was pretty absurd. He set aside any possibility of bilateral communication with Russia. What should have been done? In agreement, as we did during the H1N1 pandemic, in which both institutions worked together during all research and application of the vaccines. Bolsonaro simply washed his hands, but he looked condemned. Yeah, so Bolsonaro's not looking so good. As usual. But it seems like he's maybe losing his grip on power, given that and some other stories. 58.6 of Israeli Jews strongly believe Israel should not open up Gaza to international humanitarian shipments. Yeah, it's a lot of people who are like, fuck everybody in Gaza. That's pretty fucking grim. It's just unlike the Nazis. Israel has the US blood money. The Nazis had a lot of collaboration with the US too. So it's not it's really not that different, honestly. It's like there were lots of people who saw what happened in Germany and were like, yeah, how about what if we did this, but we like, you know, did it for this like Jewish identity instead of this Aryan identity, except it's European Jewish only. Yeah, there's like the whole thing is a complex mess of ideology and like realpolitik. But yeah. Well, you can talk about like collaborators. Fucking IBM gave them gave the Nazis the computers that they used. There's like the IBM and the Holocaust is a book famous about all that. Gave them the computers that they used to tabulate the deaths and everything else in the concentration camps, which is a major reason why we have as good of record as we do of what happened there, in terms of like numbers.
A man would like a little bite to eat. He wants no bull and a lot of talk that gives no breath.
Yeah. Let me make my point clear. We aren't in a war with Israel yet. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, alright, let's get off of Israel. That's always like every time we go there, it's like some fucked up shit's going on. Bolivian activists urge EU not to support coup leaders. Incredible that this is even a thing happening. The Bartolina Cisa resistance movement in the UK, which represents indigenous women in Bolivia, sent a letter to the UK office of the European Parliament questioning the role of the regional body when the coup took place in November 2019. Bolivian activists urged the European Union not to support the right-wing forces in the country. This as representatives within the European Parliament and from the Spanish Party Vox try to plot actions over alleged human rights variations during the elected government of Luis Arce. The Bartolina Cisa resistance movement in the UK, which represents indigenous women in Bolivia, sent a letter. Wait. Did I just not... Did I just read that? Oh yeah, it was... What the fuck? Why has it got the same text twice? Hilo, en los próximos días llegará al país otro... I'm just actually going to translate that, because not everybody speaks Spanish. Okay, fine. Fine. I'll go to the Twitter page. Thread. In the next few days, another batch of 200,000 doses of Sputnik 5 will arrive in the country to continue with our mass vaccination plan. The pilot test carried out in La Paz and El Alto will allow us to be prepared to apply these vaccines quickly. No bajemos la guardia. I guess it means don't let your guard down, I think. Is what they're saying there. I'm not too up and up on idioms in Spanish. Why would the UN even support coup members, though? Well, you know, because it's a Western project to try to reassert control from a place that democratically elected a socialist government. You know, social democrats. Yeah. In the next few days, another batch of 200,000 doses. Oh, wait. That's what I just translated. Where were the EU, the Organization of American States, when the massacres, mass arrests, persecution, and torture of opponents were happening? The letter reads. At least, yeah, right? That's what I said when I saw the headline earlier. It's like, what were you saying before, before we had, while the coup was happening, all kinds of horrible shit was going on. I added the song, and they didn't do anything. But now that like they're prosecuting the people who did the coup, oh, now this is crimes against humanity. That you're like, what? At least 1,500 people were imprisoned during the Áñez de facto government without any reason and were taken away without mercy, said the organization. Yeah, a lot of people were fucking killed, too. The corrupt Bolivian elite who are now pleading with you for support seek to keep this murderous history going on. If the European Union vote to support the Bolivian right wing in their efforts, we can only assume that the same values that motivated the conquistadors are in operation today in the democratic EU. Holy shit. I mean, where's the lie? But damn, that's a fucking... wow. Yeah, that's, yes, just like they did in Chile. Yeah. It's just like nakedly, a project of, trying to manage the, like, a colonial management, basically, neo-colonialism. Limitations exploding. Please, sir, may we have another portion with children of the beast that dodged the abortion. Neck plate firm between the floor and the floor. Oh, that's like some classical. That's cool. Any kind of music's good. You can queue up whatever you want if you want to request something. And you can also, by the way, do it yourself in the Twitch chat with the exclamation point SR and then type the name of the song or the URL to YouTube or SoundCloud. And it'll put it up. But if you want me to do it, you can put that in the SciTube chat. Yeah, so that's just really calling them out. If the European Union vote to support the Bolivian right wing in their efforts, we can only assume that the same values that motivated the conquistadors are in operation today in the democratic EU. Like, man. Alright, they've got a news report. Hold on. How do I turn that down real quick? Actually, I'll pause it because if I want to be able to hear what the report's saying, I probably should just pause the music.
Bolivian President Luis Arce called on the World Trade Organization and the World Intellectual Property Organization to work for a prompt modification of intellectual property rights in the face of the need to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines across the globe.
At the service of the human being, without any type of geographical, political, or social discrimination, and the access to vaccines must be seen as a human right. For that reason, pharmaceutical companies and governments must maintain sincere cooperation and implement the dissemination of their knowledge and technology, so that by working together we can guarantee immediate and timely access to vaccines for the most vulnerable people.
Bolivian President Luis Arce called
Tu atención, por favor. Hermanas y hermanos, el Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia anuncia la llegada de 200.000 dosis de Sputnik V al país.
Hemos comprado vacunas. Si no hubiéramos comprado vacunas, no estaríamos recibiendo estos lotes que tenemos hoy en día. Y seguimos abiertos al diálogo en todas las proveedoras para seguir comprando y para seguir garantizando la vacunación para el pueblo boliviano.
Oh shit. Oh shit, I had myself muted there. Fuck, I don't know how long that was. Damn it. No, okay, I think it wasn't a problem on your end. I think it was, yeah, I just had myself muted. Shit. I think it was only this article, though. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, okay. I just forgot to adjust the sound after I was playing a video clip, and so I muted myself so I wouldn't bump the mic, but then I forgot to unmute myself. Alright. Yeah, so CPP, Philippines, Communist Party of the Philippines denounced successive extrajudicial killings and illegal arrests by police and military officers in Bicol province from April 25th to 26th. 5 civilians were brutally killed while 2 were arrested on trumped-up charges. So we have Barangay Kagawad Froilan Oafarina III, 45, was shot to death on the evening of April 25th as 30 armed police officers surrounded his home in Barangay Tambo. Bushi Camarine Sur police operatives turned off all lights before executing Oafarina and planting a .38 caliber pistol. No warrant of arrest was presented, according to his family. The following day, policemen enforcing search warrants at around past 4 a.m. killed both Pablito Dosal, 43, and Marlon Coyates, 39, inside their houses in Barangay Santa Maria, Iriga City, and Barangay Payantan, Goa, respectively. Another civilian identified as Jose Bergonia was also arrested in a separate operation in Barangay Payantan in the same morning. CPP Chief Information Officer Marco L. Valbuena condemned the police for whitewashing these crimes by making the baseless claims that the victims are members of the New People's Army and the party. The police make it appear that they were killed after having fought back. Meanwhile, in Masbate, 2 farmers were killed in a series of indiscriminate strafing and mauling by the 2nd IB in barangays Jamarawam and Magsalane and Milagros on April 25th. The condition of one of the victims' mother after the incident is still unclear. Taukang-style murder by state forces are on the rise, especially in the rural areas, targeting local peasant leaders and activists who are maliciously tagged as NPA members, said Valbuena. In Sorsogon province, civilian Jose Amante was arrested on April 26 on trumped-up charges of attempted murder in Barangay Sua Matnog town. Amante is accused of being a member of the People's Militia. A few days prior, armed goons of the Philippine Army were reported to be lurking around barangays Fabrica and San Antonio of Barcelona town. These attacks are clearly aimed at stifling dissent and suppressing the people's struggles and resistance, especially amid the failure of the Duterte government to respond to the pandemic and cause the severe economic crisis. General Antonio Parlade's hands are spat with blood, and as head of the AFP Southern Luzon Command, as these murderers proliferate, Valbuena ended. Well, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you start to lose control because of the pandemic. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I need to pay more attention to my sound because I didn't realize that I was muted after I was playing that video. That's entirely my fault. Maybe I should just not. I should just get better at being really quiet. I only muted myself because I didn't want to, like, bump the mic. A government campaign to force Assange out from Ecuadorian embassy. But which government? The British government campaigned and spent more than $20,000 to force the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange from the Ecuadorian embassy in London. £20,000. A declassified UK investigation has revealed. Declassified UK analyzed Foreign Office documents as well as the recently published diaries of former Foreign Office Minister Alan Duncan, who was a key player in negotiations around Mr. Assange. In March 2018, then Prime Minister Theresa May was told to butter up Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno. Wow. In order to get Mr. Assange expelled from the embassy, where he was living at the time, the analysis found. Later in the year, Ms. May's government spent £12,806 to bring Ecuadorian officials to Britain. Another £8,330 was spent just to bring Defense Minister Oswaldo Jarrín over. Mr. Jarrín's trip to Britain took place 2 months before the planned seizure of Mr. Assange. Mr. Duncan also arranged a Daily Mail hit piece of the WikiLeaks publisher days after Mr. Assange's forced eviction from the embassy. The stories used photos from inside the embassy of unwashed plates in the kitchen and alleged that Mr. Assange left soiled underpants stuffed down the lavatory in a fit of rage. No evidence was provided for this claim. They really were going after this thing that, like, oh, Julian Assange is, like, crazy and he's living like a hobo and shit like that. Like, oh, this guy who did, like, very important journalistic work, covering abuses by these governments. We need to fucking... We gotta smear him as, like, a dirty doo-doo head who's gonna, like, make it unseemly for people to come to your embassy. Like, what the fuck is this nonsense? It's so weird. It's like the things that he's doing that are bothering them compared to, like, the accusations they're levying at him. It's just weird. Mr. Duncan also gave Ecuador's president a plate from Buckingham Palace gift shop during an official trip to the Latin American country to say thank you for handing Mr. Assange over. National Security Advisor Richard Moore, who is now the head of MI6, was in Ecuador 2 weeks before Mr. Assange was expelled from the embassy. A Foreign Office spokesperson told Declassified that the department regularly arranges meetings with ministers and officials from other countries to encourage closer engagement with our international partners and help achieve our foreign policy objectives. She added that the costs of such visits were occasionally covered on a case-by-case basis. So, yeah. More nonsense. Alright, it's 10:30, so I need to wrap it up. U.S. agency in charge of nukes approves multi-billion-dollar project as Washington urges Iran to curtail its own nuclear program. Which, like, just... That says it all that you need to see by itself. The U.S. has approved a multi-billion-dollar project to beef up its plutonium production. At the same time, Washington is calling on Iran to return to an international agreement designed to prevent Tehran from developing nuclear bombs. Nukes for me, but not for thee. The National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA. Yeah, alright, so at least 30 plutonium pits per year will be built to meet national security needs, the NNSA said in a statement on Wednesday, as if more nukes are gonna make you safer. Alright, project at the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico will cost an estimated $2.7 to $3.9 billion and could be finished between 2027 and 2028, the agency said. Plutonium pits are bowling ball-sized plutonium shells and a crucial component of nuclear warheads. The move to expand plutonium production is a bid by U.S. President Joe Biden's administration to make up for the country's near 3-decade shortfall in the quantity of material the NNSA says is required for America's nuclear arsenal. Oh, come on. This is just like fucking... It's just obscene how much that costs and how many nuclear warheads the U.S. has. Alright. Oh, this will be the last one. Policy disaster waiting to happen. Civil rights groups caution White House amid reports of racially motivated menthol cigarette ban plan. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, and a host of civil rights groups have warned the Biden administration against a reported proposed ban on menthol cigarettes, noting it would have serious racial injustice implications. In a letter sent this week to Health Secretary Xavier Becerra, Food and Drug Administration head Janet Woodcock, and other officials, the ACLU, along with 26 other organizations, including a number of drug legalization groups, said the well-intentioned move had the potential to create large underground illegal markets, as always happens when you ban stuff. This would be a massive law enforcement problem. I think you mean it would be a massive coup for the prison industrial complex. Once marijuana gets legalized, you gotta have something else criminalized so that people can fucking... We keep getting sent to prison. That's the way that shit works in capitalist America. Or the U.S. at least. Such a ban will trigger criminal penalties which will disproportionately affect people. Yeah, obviously, yeah. As a prioritized criminalization over public health and harm reduction, the letter said. So, like, just as we're talking about, like, oh, we gotta have racial justice, and we gotta get rid of this, like, fucking problem, like, this crime problem, of people going to prison over drug charges, which we now realize it was bad to do this, like, this crime bill and have, like, drugs be criminalized so severely. They're starting to walk that shit back, and they're just going to do it again with a different thing. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna fly or not, but maybe this time people will get it ahead of time and it'll get stopped. Anyway. Alright, that's it for the stories today that I'm covering. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow. I was off a couple days earlier this week, and I'll be back this Friday. Hope you enjoyed the newscast, and remember, as you go forth, agitate, educate, and organize.
That's all, folks.